Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the movie part of What If Reborn Issei got harem. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. 1. Gabriel. 2. Ophis, female and isn't lowly. 3. Lucy Lucifuge. First comes extra demons. They have cut themselves off the current government and are not a part of 72 pillars but still are considered high-class devils like Abaddon House. Second are the 72 pillars which were created by original Lucifer and ranking of houses in it are like canon. Then comes 6 houses of Luckfort in this alternate world. They are not a part of extra demons and are considered higher ranking than 72 pillars as these 6 houses were direct subordinate of original Lucifer and his clan and many consider them to be a part of Lucifer clan. And at top comes royal clans like Lucifer, Leviathan, Asmodeus and Beelzebub. They belong to original Satans but Lucifer is the most powerful clan among them. Low class, beings like Rainier and her group. Mid-class, Orc, Student Council, Rias and Sona at beginning. High-class, beings like Diodora and Riser. Ultimate class, like Kokabeel. Satan class, low to high-tier gods, Seraphal, Falbium and stronger cadre. Super class, Surzex and Ajuka. Heavenly Dragon class, Albion, Draig and Crumcrouch. Ultimate god tier, only for Shiva. Dragon god, beings like Great Red, Ophis and Trihexa. True god, Xe gods and they are only slightly stronger than dragon gods. Each rank has 3 tier being low, mid, high. As Issei Hayudu with a twist. MC. Oh man, where am I? Last I remember is being getting hit of by truck. Kun wait, why is my voice that of a child? Our MC rushed to the mirror in panic and what he saw made him fall on his ass. MC. Spiky brown hair, chocolate brown eyes. No, it can't be. I reincarnated as Issei Hayudu. Soon the door was shut open. From it came Miki Hai. She looked just like she was in anime but currently she was worried for her son. Miki, what happened? Issei. MC, me mom, I just saw a rat. He. MC will be referred as Issei. Miki, okay but be careful next time and go to sleep, it's past 9. Issei nodded and Miki left. Ding. System initialized. Say, who are you? Asked a panic Issei. Ding. I am the ultimate gacha system given to you by God. My functions are inventory, self-explanatory. Gacha, from it you can get universe-destroying powers to a rotten apple. Issei. Okay, so do I have some starters pack? Ding. You have 1 random gacha ticket, want to use it? Issei. Yes, and can you please stop the ding sound? Confirmed, the gacha is rolled. Congratulations, you get Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Issei. Yes, that's my boy. What are the abilities of my eyes? The abilities of your eyes are Tsukiyomi in right eye, Kamui in left eye and Amaterasu as a bonus in both eyes. Issei. Ooh, I might be the first user of Sharingan who have 3 abilities. It's the greatness of system, but how can I use them? I don't have chakra? The Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan will work on mana and your mana reserves are less, so it's recommended to increase them. Say, I see. The system has been told to go to hibernation till Trihexa is released. Till that time the gacha function would be unavailable and the only function available would be inventory. Issei, what? Asterisk psi asterisk, it's not like I can argue, so till then I will master boosted gear. And before you go in hibernation, can you tell how many years am I before canon? Host is currently 12 year before canon. System is now going to hibernation 3, 2, 1. Issei, so I am 5 years old. I do look like a child but in my panic I forgot about that. As Issei was muttering to himself, the door was opened revealing a boy about 6 years old who had brown hair and dark brown eyes and an average face. What happened? Issei. Issei, who are you? Boy, what? You forgot about your NIS and I am Tatsuya, your big brother. Issei. Why, yeah, I was just kidding. He. Issei thinking, the hella big brother, he is an OC. Tatsuya eyed him suspiciously but then left after talking with Issei for a while. Issei thinking, okay, so I reincarnated as Issei Hayudu when he was 5. I have a system which gave me Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and is currently in hibernation till Trihexa is released, and apparently I have an elder sibling named Tatsuya. Now let's plan for future. I have to awaken my sacred gear and master I as quickly as possible alongside increasing my mana pool so that I can use my Sharingan's abilities, but the question stands, does my siblings change plot? Would they be a main character or a kept in dark side character? Sigh, such a pain in the ass, but still let's check how my Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan looks and how many time can I use it. Issei looked in mirror and opened his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and saw its patterns being a shuriken just like a Bito, which was quite cool in his opinion, and then he looked at a paper in his room and tested how many times he can use his abilities. Issei, Amaterasu. The paper burned and not even its ashes remain. Issei, I don't felt a week, maybe it consumes less mana? After that Issei teared pages from his book and used Amaterasu. Issei, so 10 times Amaterasu is my limit, huh? After that Issei's collapsed on the bed. Next morning, Mickey enters Issei's room and shakes him and Issei woke up, albeit begrudgingly. Mickey, listen Issei, your father and your elder brother are going out for some work, we will return by night, try to not burn the house. Issei, yes I won't. After that all his family left, leaving him alone, and this was perfect situation for him as to train in mana and also increase his reserves and do some training to strengthen his body as it was pretty weak right now. Issei, according to DxD anime knowledge, I need to feel the warm feeling in my body while meditating and move it around my body till I am exhausted, and then I will go and eat breakfast. Till then my mana should be replenished enough to train physically. After that Issei meditated for 2 hours and found the warm feeling near his heart, and he gently moved the warm feeling throughout his body for another hour, and after the warm feeling disappeared Issei was completely exhausted. Issei, it's very hard to move my mana, but it should improve. I could get tips from Drake after awakening the gear, but I certainly did feel my mana was double the size it was yesterday. If I keep this up for a decade or so I might have Satan class reserves, but for now I should eat breakfast and get energy to perform my physical training, but first thing first I need a bath. After that Issei went to the shower and cleaned all the sweat off him and went to dining table to see a note which told him his breakfast was in oven, he could heat it and get it from there, and Issei heated his breakfast while drinking a coffee. He made himself, then ate his breakfast and did 100 push-up, 100 sit-ups and ran around the town 2 times with it. He also got familiar with the town, and after that he came to his house very exhausted. He was reeking of sweat at the time he reached home. It was 6 in evening. His parents will come in 2 hours, so he quickly took a hot bath and ate some snacks, recalling all his memories of DxD. He was able to remember till latest version of light novel being True High School DxD Vol 4, so he has pretty good knowledge of the world that even the strongest factions lacks, like EXE world and dimensional gap being a space that separates worlds, the future plots and many secrets like the King Peace and Death of Great Red. Issei, I have a lot of knowledge and I should use it carefully and prepare for the upcoming future and change them to my liking, but for that I need to awaken the sacred gear as it's one of my major strength and alongside increase my reserves, and with Sharingan I can copy any magic I want, so it's a win-win situation. After planning his future moves, he went to his bed and slept like a dead man, only to awoken by the smack on his head given to him by his mother. Say, what was that for? Mickey, Issei, it already time for breakfast and you are still sleeping. Issei, **** coming, and mom, what about the school? Mickey, are you okay? Issei, did I hit too hard? Issei, what do you mean? Mickey, you are 3 months young to start the school, don't compete with your brother, he is old enough. Issei, why yeah, I was kinda jealous, hee hee hee. Issei laughed nervously, but fortunately Mickey left. Issei, it's such a hassle not having Issei's memories ****, but still in these 3 months I can grow from leaps and bound, but I have be careful nearing the time when my school starts. The Shidus will be here, and Mr. Shidu is a high-ranking exorcist, so he can easily detect my draconic aura, so I should awaken it and learn to hide it before he comes here. After that Issei went and brushed his teeth, took a bath and wore his clothes and went down for breakfast. It was a good one, seeing as Issei was enjoying it by talking to his noon family happily. After that breakfast, Issei, Mom, I am gonna go out. Mickey, okay Issei, take care and don't get lost, and if you do then go to police office, okay? So, of course. After that Issei ran of the house and stopped just after that, thinking deeply. Then Issei looked at his watch, seeing the time was 11 in morning. Issei, I could maximum be out till 5 in evening, so I should be near the house as much as possible and get a place to train where I wouldn't attract attention and can train peacefully according to the run I had in the town for yesterday's training. The closest place that meets my description is. Issei looked behind his house to see a mountain not so far away. It would be 500 meters at best. Issei, that's it, the mountain. After that, Issei continued his training in the mountain by exhausting his mana and taking rest, then doing his physical training. Time skip 1 month later. Issei's POV. I learned that age difference between me and Tatsuya is a year, and according to his age he should be about Rias's age as he is just a year older than me. And regarding my progress, in this past 1 month I have grown strong and can awaken my sacred gear any moment. My mana pool has also increased from a drop to a lake. I am able to use Amaterasu, Kamui and Tsukiyomi each 30 times, which is great considering just a month ago I collapsed just after using Amaterasu 10 times, and my body has also lost all its baby fat and made 6-packs abs. I now have a body of swimmers, being lean and not bulky, and obviously this didn't go unnoticed by my parents and siblings as they bombarded me with questions. I just convinced them that it was due to playing heavily for so much time, and currently I am meditating in my room at the middle of the night so that I could awaken my sacred gear without any problems. Issei. Okay, so I just need to meditate till Drake pulls me in the mindscape. Here goes nothing. Issei meditated for 10 minutes and he was pulled inside the mindscape, but the being he saw made him fall straight on his ass. Issei, Albion. I am the White Dragon Emperor. Issei, Albion. What are you doing here? Where's Drake? Albion was confused as this boy somehow knew his presence and trained to unlock his gear, and when he enters the mindscape he was shocked to see him and asked where Drake is. Albion, what do you mean, kid? I was with you since you were born. Issei, what really? Issei thinking, could this be an alternate universe as I also have a brother? Albion, how do you know about my rival Drake and have mistaked me for him? Issei, oh why yes, about that. You wouldn't take it too good, but still look into my eyes. Albion looked into the eyes of the boy in front of him as his chocolate brown eyes turned into crimson red with 3 black tomo. The tomo rotated and became that of the pattern of shuriken, and then Albion found himself in a dimension where he saw all the memories of Issei, including his previous life. It went on for 3 hours, but in reality it was for mere 4 seconds. Soon Albion had seen all the memories of Issei and found himself in front of him again. Issei, I used Tsukiyomi and made you saw all the memories of mine, and you saw it, so you should know what my eyes are, right? Albion, yes, Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. So what are their uses? Issei, I can copy magics and fighting styles with it at a glance, and I have 3 abilities of eyes, being Kamui, Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu. With Kamui I can send any attack no matter the strength to another dimension, and with Tsukiyomi I will have a dimension where I can torture someone or make them watch memories of their own or mine, and days there will be mere seconds in real world, and Amaterasu flames can burn even the soul, pretty much like Drake's flames. By the end of the explanation Albion's eyes were about to pop out of his sockets. Albion, that's something. With it you can learn techniques very fast. It is indeed useful, but still to think this world was a mere fiction in your past world. He said the last part in a low voice. Issei, yes, but don't sweat it now, it's as real as it can get, and I am amazed by you. It seems you are not even shocked as you are talking so calmly. Albion, yes thanks, but it's taking all my willpower to not faint from shock, but the plus point being with your future knowledge we can shape the world as we want. Issei, you are right. By the way, Albion, how much mana do I have currently? Albion, high rank of low class. Issei, oh shit. That's way too low. Is there any way to increase my mana reserves? Albion, there is, but it will be painful. Issei, what is it? Albion, you can exchange body parts for mana and superior strength. Issei, I agree. I want to change by heart then. Albion, the heart will be extremely very painful. Issei, why is that? Isn't it like any other part? Albion, no, because when the transformation is complete then you will become a half-dragon. Issei, half-dragon, what are the pros and cons? Albion, you will have stronger bones and stronger body, and lastly and most useful, very high lifespan, as we dragons have lifespan more than even devils and live for almost eternity, so you will too, and can only die if killed, and will have high mana reserves, but you won't have dragon form due to being a hybrid, but you will have dragon wings, and the only con being you will be more vulnerable to dragon slayers, and that's all you get for this. Do you agree? Issei, Well, that will be very useful, mostly the lifespan part with it. I shouldn't worry about joining devils for more lifespan, but I won't have a dragon farm. It's quite sad, but I will have to make it up with dragon wings. That's good, and of course I agree. Albion nodded and begun the transformation. It hurted like hell for Issei, but he shut his mouth and controlled his screams, earning respect for Albion in the way. And when the transformation ended, Issei opened his eyes and limped towards the mirror. There he saw an extremely handsome young child with silvery white hair, crystal blue eyes, skin as white as snow, and perfect features. Issei then opened his Mangekyo Sharingan and admired his face in mirror with Mangekyo Sharingan, then closed it and then opened his wings and saw them to be pure white with feathers quite similar to angels but with outline of a dragon, and then retracted it. Issei, my new looks are very good and my dragon wings are quite similar to your own, and I also have divine dividing wings, 2 pair of wings in total. And by the way, Albion, how much mana do I have now? Albion, you have high of mid-class, a monstrous reserve for a 5-year-old child. Issei, that it's by the way, could you use my mana to make everyone in the town think like I always looked like this to avoid getting bombarded with questions? Albion, already did. There's a reason why I represent supremacy. Albion sounded very smug in that statement. Issei, yes, but a question has been bugging me for a while, partner. Albion, what is it, partner? Issei, if I have divine dividing, so does Valley has boosted gear? Albion, about that I sensed sacred gear presence from your sibling, more precisely to be a draconic sacred gear. Say, are you sure? Albion, 50% during the dragondification some of my aura was released, but I already made a barrier surrounding the house so no one was alerted, but a draconic sacred gear is in your brother as it released some of his aura while sensing mine in close proximity due to him being in the house, and I am not sure it can even be a gear of Vritra. We would have to wait and see, but I warn you to be prepared as your elder brother might be Red Dragon Emperor, or even if not, he for sure will be involved in supernatural world sooner or later. Say, I know now it's inevitable for him to get involved in supernatural world since the whole DXD is revolved around Issei, but in this alternate world now I have divine dividing, so I doubt I am the protagonist anymore, and if my speculations are right then Tatsuya should be the protagonist of this alternate world and also have boosted gear, but I am not sure yet as it will be proven if he turned perverted like Issei became when he was 7 in canon. Then we can check if he has Vritra or Draig. Albion, it seems that will give us an idea of future. Issei merely nodded. 2 months later. In the middle of the night, a figure clad in white armor was fighting a figure who looked hideous, that had upper body of a human and lower that of snake, and obviously the white figure was Issei and his opponent was a stray. Issei, how pathetic is that all you got? Stray, shut up. I will annihilate you. Issei made an energy ball of silver color in his hand and launched it at his opponent. Issei, Dragon Shot. The opponent of Issei was strong but not strong enough and was annihilated at mere touch of the dragon shot, not even leaving behind his ashes. Soon Issei flew to his house and dispelled his balance breaker and went on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Issei thinking, I was able to grow my mana reserves from mid-high class to high class. The most difficult part is to ascend from a rank to another, as the difference is huge. A low ultimate class devil can kill multiple high class devils and a low Satan class can kill multiple ultimate class devils. And yes, I awakened my balance breaker in just 2 months. I was quite shocked, but I remembered that Issei in canon to awakened it very early, and besides, Albion says it's because of me becoming a half dragon. Well, it's good for me anyways, and due to the tutelage of Albion I am now able to hide my draconic aura subconsciously. I don't need to focus to hide it, which is great considering that the shittas have just moved in and I don't want to exorcist on my back asking to join their faction. I may be stronger than him currently, but I am no match for Vasco Strata, the strongest human. I remember reading that in Azazel Cup he was able to take on Valley in his Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive very easily, and I am not ready for that monster yet. And you might be thinking why I am so worried about being found out by Church? It's simple. The heavenly dragons in their prime were the 3rd strongest being on the planet, only being bested by Shiva the god of destruction and the dragons of dreams and infinity alongside Trihexa. So if any faction found a wilder of the heavenly dragons' sacred gear who has potential, then they will do anything to get them, as even the weakest of their wilder when using Juggernaut Drive can destroy a small faction or fatally wound a big faction. Asterisk sigh asterisk. Enough about that now regarding my progress. I learned some basic types of magic that Albion taught me, like teleportation and communication magic, and regarding my eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, now I am able to manifest the ribcage of Susanoo, and my Susanoo's color is silver with hint of white. As I was thinking these things, Albion interrupted me. Albion, what are you thinking, partner? You seem to be in deep thought. Issei, just how much we have grown just 2 months ago, as now I have high class mana, balance breaker, and am able to summon ribcage of Susanoo. Albion, you are growing through leaps and bounds, partner, but still, what do you want to do about enemies who are even stronger than me in my prime, like Crom Crouch? But it seems that's not all you are thinking, is it? Issei, just what would happen to me if I get revealed to supernatural in this vulnerable state of mine? Albion, they will chew you apart to add you their faction and eliminate you if you join their enemies. Issei, I see, then I need to be stronger than anyone to ever be, not for others like some do-gooder protagonist, but to protect myself. Albion, good, but would you do after you master Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive? Sismert. Issei, have you seen the DxD anime through my memories? Albion, yes, what about it? Issei, then you must know how Canon. Issei absorbed your gem, and I am planning to get Drake's gem. How much do you think will be needed to make a new form of balance breaker? Albion was silent for some time, making Issei reconsider his words, but he soon let out a loud laugh. Albion? Ha ha, good, that's what I would expect from my host, and besides it will take 2 gems, and if you manage to absorb it, then in that form you will be able to defeat Shiva, the god of destruction, and have 40% chance of defeating that dragon god Loli and Red Jackass. Issei, that's encouraging of you, but seriously I feel bad for my inventory, as its infinite storage space is just filled with food and clothes for emergencies. It's good that the time stop in the inventory, or my food would have been wasted. Albion, now what can we do? Let's wait till the system is active again, then I am sure we will get many interesting things. Ding! Mickey, check who's on the door. Issei, said Mickey from kitchen. Issei, on it. Issei went towards the door and opened it to see. Hello, we have just moved in, so we thought of greeting our neighbors. Where are your parents, kid? Issei thinking, they have come, huh? Tatsuya, the Red Dragon Emperor. Confirmed? A boy who has silvery white hair and crystal blue eyes, with flawless white skin and a handsome face which can make even the coldest girl blush mad just by looking at him, who of course was our MC Issei, the White Dragon Emperor, who was currently staring out of the window, seeing his elder brother Tatsuya hugging and comforting a crying Irina, who was about to leave for England with her parents. Issei thinking, days pass by so quickly, don't they? It has been 2 years since the Shittus arrived, and now they are leaving. In this 2 years I never once interacted with Irina, as when she sees me she just runs away blushing madly. I tried to approach her on multiple occasions, only for her to start a race back to her house, so I left her and never interacted with her. But Mr. Shidu did talk to me sometimes, mostly asking if I believed in supernatural. At first I was sacred that he may have found out about my identity as White Dragon Emperor, but it was proven wrong, as he just suspected me to be an active wielder of sacred gear, but due to me playing innocent he waved it off, saying he was just kidding. Well, since then I never went to Shittus' house, as I never felt comfortable there. Well, but my sibling liked to spend most of his time with Shittus, and yesterday Mr. Shidu killed his comrade by orders of church superiors and have to leave now due to danger to him and his family, and I didn't intervene, as this is a crucial plot from which Irina goes and starts her training as exorcist. If I am feeling anything for Shittus' departure, then it's extreme joy, as due to that Shidu I had to go and train in Dimensional Gap, which I entered from the mountain. It's my luck I didn't come across Ophis or Great Red, or I would have been toast for barging their precious home. You can just imagine what would someone like Ophis, who can create a terrorist organization for killing Great Red, who took her home, and what will she do to someone getting there uninvited and making noise taking her silence away? Asterisk cough cough asterisk. Now for school, there's 2 words to describe it: being super easy. Well, for me anyways, I mean I am college graduate, and being in so low grade was very easy. I would have sucked in Japanese, but I learned it before the school started, and it went of without a hook. I am the topper of my class and always score full marks. Now for my progress and how my life went about. I have been able to remove the timer from my balance breaker and also improve its longevity. Now I can stay in balance breaker for weeks, and I have already mastered the balance breaker, so if I want to step further, then I need to defeat all the previous hosts, which is no joke, as many of them were great warriors with high battle experience, but still I managed to defeat 40%. of the host and the rest 60% are strong, but I will know have to overcome them. Eventually. Regarding my mana is now high ultimate class close to breaking through to Satan class, but according to Albion the most mana I can have is mid Satan class, as I have been using the exhaustion technique by fully exhausting my mana and let them refill, but with it one can only reach mid Satan class, which I learned recently. And regarding my Susano, I can fully summon it and use it to its fullest capabilities, and I have plans for it, like when I master Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive I can use Susano with it, and that should make me as strong as a dragon god, and when I get Draig's gems I can make a form with both Albion's and Draig's power combined, and I am thinking of adding Susano to that form too. I can just imagine me kicking Trihex's ass. My physical strength at base form has to increased mostly endurance due to training in Dimensional Gap, and I also have 6-pack which worried my parents, but after making a lot of shit story it worked, and they eventually got convinced and stopped stalking me. My overall power level currently is Satan class including mana and Susano, which is very monstrous for a child, but it's not surprising as Issei in canon was about to come in top 5 strongest beings in the world in just a year. Normal POV. After the shittest left, the hiatus house was filled with silence and sadness, well except for a silver head who's smiling brightly whole day by having a stick in mud which was hindering his progress removed, and eventually the night came. Say, well, it's the judgment day. Albion grunted in approval. Issei sneaked to Tatsuya's room to find Tatsuya sleeping with an erotic novel in his hand, which made Issei's eyebrow arch up, but he shook his head and touched Tatsuya's left hand and focused, and soon found himself in a dark place with a giant western red dragon sleeping. Soon Issei was thrown out of the dark place and back to the room, and he then left for his room and looked outside the window. Albion. He is not the Wilder of Vritra, but Draig. Issei nodded wordlessly. Albion. What do you plan to do now? Issei, I have a backup plan, being going away from Kuo for training alongside getting battle experience with the excuse of getting selected in an academy. Albion, earlier the exam you gave online, was that one? Issei, yes, I wanted to be prepared as potentially my brother could be the red one, which he is now, and I also wanted battle experience to defeat those shitheads of past hosts who doesn't want to leave the gear at all, so going away is a must for it. Albion grunted in approval. Next morning, the hiatus were having their breakfast in silence, which Issei broke. Issei, Mom, Dad, I gave the test for a middle school in America and got selected with full marks. I even got the ticket to America through mail today. The fork from Mickey's hand dropped down. Mickey, are you serious? She asked with excitement, making Issei quite confused, but still Issei nodded and showed them the mail, which made Mickey squeal in joy. Guru, you see, we plan to make you study in abroad from start for a better future for you, as you are so bright student. Issei nodded. Tatsuya, what is the date you are leaving? Issei, 2 days from now, on Monday to be precise. Then Issei answered any question they had during academy, and the idea was accepted by the adult hiatus. Quickly after that, Issei went to his room and closed his eyes and meditated. Albion, why specially did you choose this academy? Issei, its time is from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., meaning I get the whole day to myself, and no one should leave campus gates after 7 in evening. Albion, and you plan to do it, I take. Issei smirked. Issei, well, they never talked about teleporting now, do they? Albion just chuckled. Albion, fair point. After 2 days, Issei left for America to begin his new journey until canon starts. Time skip and return to Kuo. Time skip 10 years. A figure could be seen sitting on top of a building about 50 floors and looking at the city down below and enjoying the breeze. The said figure has silvery white hair as the moon itself and crystal blue eyes that hold immense power, and with a pale complexion and perfect features, being and looked to be about 6 feet tall, with a swimmer's body, not too bulky and best for strength and speed, and it was none other than Issei, who has grown much more handsome after entering his 16 and have also stopped aging. Issei, Psi I will miss the nightlife of America. Albion, so will I, but we have gained many things from here. Issei, that we have, like me, being able to defeat all the past hosts of the Divine Dividing, mastering Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive, also fully mastering Susano, reaching mid-Satan class in mana, getting fighting experience, and lastly also being able to make a new form of Susano combined with Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive. It's called Vanishing Dragon Overdrive. Albion, Not to mention becoming my strongest host to at full power in Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive. You are a Heavenly Dragon class, and with the new form of Susano and Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive combined, you are as strong as Shiva, only being bested by Great Red, Ophis, Trihexa. I can't wait for you to get Draig's gems. With it you will reach Dragon God class. I can already imagine us kicking Trihexa's ass. Issei. Yes, but it seems we are a bit delayed for canon as we have to take care of the transfer certificate and also recently mastering Vanishing Dragon Overdrive, but power is always welcomed. But still, the information we got confirmed that this is an alternate world. Albion. Yes, I am still thinking, will this world go as canon or will take its own turn? As till you were age of 7, everything was like in canon, for example the shit is coming and going and their reason for departure too. Issei. I know, but according to me this world will follow canon, but with a change, like we will know the main points like 1. Kokabeels at 2. Peace Conference 3. Youth Devil Gathering 4. Loki Arc 5. Tatsuya's Juggernaut Drive 6. Gremory vs. Serg and rest, but we don't know who will be there and participate in the events, and there might be changes inside these events. Albion. So in short, we know highlights but not who will play, and there might be changes in them too. Issei nodded. Albion, which arc might be going now according to you? Issei, the church one where Kokabeel steals Excalibur, as the supernatural world was hit by wildlife when they learned the sister of Lucifer getting Red Dragon Emperor as her pawn. Albion, she must have used all her pawn pieces, as in canon Draig did took all 8 pieces. Issei nodded. Issei, but still to think Lucifuge House is still active and exists. Yes, recently about a year ago I learned that during Devil Civil War the Lucifuge sided with anti-Satan faction to protect their race, and after the war new Satans were appointed, but the one who gained more power politically were Lucifuge and Baal houses, as both were leading houses of anti-Satan faction, and their political power is more than 4 Satans. Both houses hold almost equal amount of political power, but Lucifuge House holds a bit more due to their standing as one of 6 houses that used directly serve the original Lucifer, so the strongest house in political power is currently Lucifuge, followed by Baal. Even Euclid is there. He didn't went of with rise of him and seems to be a man of good character from what I have heard, unlike his canon self. Normal POV. Issei has already kept his luggage in his inventory and was just enjoying his last night in America. After the sunrise he entered the balance breaker state and left for Japan at a speed that he can enjoy his ride. Apparently due to being a half-dragon he likes soaring through sky freely. After 2 hours, Issei has reached Kuo town and was currently walking through the outskirts of town to his home, as it will be weird seeing someone in white armor flying around in day. After a walk of 15 minutes, he reached his home, which has surprisingly become a mansion of 6 stories. Albion and Issei, holy fuck. Albion, wasn't it renovated after Peace Conference? Issei nodded, still quite surprised, but he shook his head and pressed the bell of the door, and soon the door was opened, revealing a middle-aged woman with dark brown hair and chocolate brown eyes, who upon seeing Issei widened her eyes, and Issei to recognized her. How can he not? She was his mother, Miki. Miki? Is that you, Issei? Her voice was on verge of breaking. Say, in the flesh. Miki tightly hugged Issei for some time and shed some tears and called him inside. Issei, the house had been well renovated? Issei played dumb to not arouse suspicions. Miki, yes, Tatsuya has joined some club named Occult Research Club, and the president of that club, Rias Gremory, is some rich father's daughter. Recently all the members of club moved in, being Rias, Akino, Kaneko and Kiba. A boy moved in. Issei thinking. In canon Kiba didn't moved in Hayudu residence. Miki, and we also got you a new sister. Her name is Asia Argento. She'd joined Core Academy and Occult Research Club. Now you have total of 3 sisters. Issei just nodded, acting surprised as he already knew that. Issei, I know Tatsuya is at school, so I guess father is at work? Miki nodded. Miki, yes, your room is just beside Issei on 3rd floor right next to the lift. Go and get fresh. I take it you plan to stay? Issei, I transferred to Mom. I will be here daily. Miki, really? Issei nodded. After that Miki asked him all sorts of things, and why did he transferred here? Issei answered them all, and then Miki went off to buy groceries. Meanwhile Issei went to his room and got fresh and looked around the room. Issei, this room is luxurious to say the least. Albion grunted in approval. Albion, When will be your school's first day again? Say, tomorrow. Albion hummed and cut of the link. Then Issei slept for some time and woke up at sunset about the time his father and brother alongside new members were about to arrive, so Issei changed into new clothes, being a brown sweatshirt, black jeans, and went down his room and sat down on the couch enjoying tea. Soon bell rang. Issei thinking, well, let's meet the main characters, shall we? Reunion and a fallen. Asterisk ding asterisk. The bell echoed through the whole Hayuda mansion. Issei smirked to himself and went to door and opened it to see his father, Tatsuya, and rest of Orc. After seeing him, Goru smiled as his wife had already informed him about their youngest child's arrival, so Goru patted Issei's shoulder with a smile and went inside, followed by Issei, who sat on the couch and looked at his brother, who came in dumbfounded. Meanwhile, all of Orc was confused. The one who came out of their shock first was Tatsuya, who immediately went and hugged Issei, followed by Miki and Goru, and Miki pulled Asia into making it a family hug, all of which Issei returned as he too missed his family. Then that all sat on couch. Meanwhile, Issei sat opposite to them. Rias, are we missing something? Akino, yes, you all seem very close to this handsome man? Tatsuya, remember my younger brother I told you all about? All nodded in confirmation. Miki, he is the one. Miki completed the sentence. All nodded, but soon their eyes widened, making Issei giggle. Then Issei get up and introduced himself to others with a bow. Issei, hello everyone, my name is Issei Hayuda, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Kiba, I am Kiba Yudo, nice to meet you. Kiba was the first one to introduce himself. He and Issei shook hands. Asia, I am Asia Argento. Asia introduced herself, clearly shy to meet her new brother, but Issei patted her head. Kaneko Toju. She replied in a monotone voice. Akino, Yufufu, I am Akino Himejima, nice meeting you, handsome Kun. She said seductively with a wink, making Issei smirk at her. Rias, I am Rias Gremory, nice meeting you, Issei. She introduced herself and put out her hand for handshake, which Issei returned. Issei thinking, well, I already know much about you all, more than I should know. Albion mentally, dude, stop it, you sound like a stalker. Albion's comment made Issei's eyes twitched, but he controlled himself. After that they all talked to Issei, mainly Alicia and Maya, asking about how America is and stuff. Issei to ask some question in return, and it was a joyous reunion for Hayuda. The whole dinner was filled with noise, making Hayuda couple look at each other emotionally. First, they didn't had a chance for a family according to doctors, but now they had a beautiful one. After dinner, Issei and all entered the lift, as the lift can comfortably be used by 15 people, and they were just 6. They all left at third floor and entered their rooms, while just Issei, Kiba and Kaneko did as Rias and Akino went to Tatsuya's room. After entering his room, Issei just sat on the bed as he was curious because he had seen Rias make some gestures to her peerage before they entered the lift, and after 10 minutes he heard walking sounds through aura. He realized all were moving towards Issei's room. Soon a creak sound because of the door getting open was heard, and another followed it when the door closed, and Issei maxed his ears senses and stared to hear what they were talking about. Issei's hearing. Rias. So all are here, then let's begin. Yes, President, was heard in the room. Rias. Okay, so Tatsuya, you, Kaneko and Pawn of Sona Saji Gensher have made a deal with those two exorcists to destroy Excalibur and made Kiba join it? So he can come back to us? Tatsuya. Rias. You did that behind my back? Her voice getting strict. Tatsuya. Why, yes, I will do it all over again if my friends require it. After a bit of silence, Rias sighed. Rias. What am I going to do with you, my dear pawn? But what you did was to help our own, so I will let this slide, but don't do that ever again behind my back or you will be given 1,000 spankings. Tatsuya. Yes, I understand. Akino. Rias, what should we do now? Is just to stole those Excalibur from church. One must be very powerful, as there may be strongest of exorcist church have would be safekeeping it, as it's a major factor of strength for church. But still, is it really Kokubile, a cadre of fallen angel, who is behind them? Should we trust those exorcist words, or are they leading us to a trap? Rias. Akino, they have no reason to lie us, but still, what is Kokubile doing stealing Excaliburs? They are very treasured swords of church. Kiba. Perhaps war by agitating heaven, you did say before he was a warmonger. Rias. It may be, but I hope it isn't. We devils cannot afford another war, or else it will result in our extinction. Issei could feel her biting her nails. Tatsuya. What should we do now, President? Rias, Kiba, you are to continue your mission with those exorcists till you destroy Excalibur, but let me be clear, this is the last time this is happening and you will inform us if anything happens, okay? Her tone from to normal to getting strict and softening at the last. Kiba, yes, President. The blonde knight replied. Rias, good, you all are dismissed. With that, Kiba and Kaneko left Tatsuya's room and no sound was heard. With Issei, Albion, so Kokabeel may come tomorrow night, right? Issei, yes, and hopefully I'm able to get a gem of boosted gear tomorrow, Sai good night, partner. Albion, good night. Then Issei drifted to dreamland alongside his fellow dragon. Next day, Issei had woken up early, also freshened up and wore his Kuo Academy uniform and stared himself in mirror. Say, got to admit every clothes I wear suits me. He winked at himself. Albion, don't start, you narcissistic bastard, I am sleeping. Grumbled Albion. Issei, then wake up, you lizard. Albion just growled and cut of the link. After his rather normal conversation with Albion, he left to breakfast and left to Kuo Academy with Orc. At Kuo Academy, Issei has just entered the Kuo Academy. After some time the Orc entered as he had stopped nearby for a cold coffee and left them go ahead of him. Girl 1. Hey, who is that handsome boy? Girl 2. He looks like a supermodel, no, even better. She said with a crazed look in her eyes. Girl 3. Is he a transfer student? Which year do you think he is in? All girls started blabbing about Issei, but Issei just ignored them. Even in America he had crazy amounts of fangirls. In America every time he would open his locker he would at least find 10 confession letters, so it was a normal occurrence for him. Issei went to student council and found out it was close. He was quite troubled, but fortunately Saji came, albeit walking strangely, and gave him his schedule as instructed to him by Sona, as she was busy at the moment, and Saji left after giving Issei his schedule. Issei thinking, hey Albion, by the way Saji was walking, he might have gotten. Albion mentally, 1,000 spankings. Both Albion and Issei shared a laugh at the blonde pawn, and Issei looked at the schedule and found out his class number was 2B. He remembered Asia and Kiba were in same class too. Issei thinking, as Kiba and Asia are in this class, I am sure in future Irina, Zenobia would also be in this class. Issei went towards his class and knocked at the door as the lecture had already begun and he was late. Soon the teacher came out and had a talk with him and told Issei to wait for a while. Teacher, you can come in now. By teacher's gesture Issei entered the class and whole class went silent, unable to comprehend such a handsome being, and this wasn't an exaggeration, as even Surzex Valley would look like normal-looking guys in front of Issei, and his natural draconic aura was that of supremacy, giving him a natural presence of a king. Teacher, he is a new transfer student, so help him with anything he wants. Teacher took a step back and gestured Issei to come forward. Issei nodded and came forward to introduce himself. Issei, hello everyone, I am Issei Hayadu. I am a Japanese but have been studying at America since 7 and have recently returned, so please excuse me if I do something that you find rude, as I have yet to adapt to Japanese culture, and keeping that aside I hope we all get along. All nodded, but a girl raised her hand. Teacher, yes Keitase, what do you want to ask to Issei? Keitase, are you related to pervert Tatsuya? Issei, yeah, he is my big brother. Suddenly there were whispers between students, but a conversation caught Issei's eye. Issei, what do you mean by brother of one of Kuo's great ladies? Keitase, you see Rias Gremory, Akino Himejima, Sona Citri, Tsubaki Shinra, Asia Argento are called 5 great ladies of our school due to their looks. Issei nodded. Issei thinking, so my new sister to become a part great ladies of Kuo Academy. Teacher, quite down. The whole class became silent. Teacher, Issei go and sit it back in right corner beside window. Issei obliged and went to his seat. Issei mentally, I got the protagonist's seat, partner. Albion mentally, good for you, partner. Time skip, end of school. Issei's day went by as a breeze, passing by with no hindrance. He then left for his house and got ready, wearing his battle outfit being a black leather jacket, black t-shirt underneath, black jeans and black sneakers, and his all-black clothing was highlighting his complexion, eyes and hairs quite well. Issei suddenly felt distortion of space and looked towards the academy. Issei, they have already set up the barrier. Albion, what are you planning to do now? entering and defeating Kokubile is a must, but what about the gem? Issei, Tatsuya might have been fighting Kokubile, so fortunately he might have gotten hit and a gem must come out of the gear. Albion, what if it didn't? Issei, we take it? Even forcefully. After his conversation with Albion, Issei walked towards Kuo Academy leisurely, and by the time he reached it he has already have 20 minutes walk. Issei thinking, this should be enough of time for Tatsuya to get hurt, and fortunately boosted gear might have dropped a gem or two. After that Issei used a bit of magic and did a little hole in the barrier and made it so no one can detect him, and peeked through that hole, and he looked around to see Kiba fighting with Kokubile with his holy demonic sword but failing miserably. He looked for his brother and found him at center. All were looking injured, and he looked a bit farther away from them to the destroyed gym and found a green gem lying there and other one near the kendo club. Say, are those? Albion, yes, we are lucky it's Drake's gem. Issei nodded and used magic to pull both the gems toward him, and at a speed which no one below Satan class can see, he got both the gems in no time and was currently looking at it. Issei, it's just like your gem but green in color. Albion, the color of balance breaker represents our scales, like mine being silvery white and Drake's being red, whereas the gems represents our eyes, that's why mine are blue and Drake's are green. Issei nodded. Albion, now hold both of them on your chest so I can absorb them. Issei nodded and hold them on his chest, and soon they glowed and went inside his chest. Albion, and done. Now I am merging them as we speak. It will take about 3 days for them to completely be absorbed, and then we can make the new form. Issei, good, but did I lost any of my lifespan? Albion, you are semi-immortal dude, but no you didn't. The canon Issei lost it as his body was way too weak to handle the power, so the gem took his lifespan as compensation. Issei smiled and put his attention on Kokubile, waiting for him to announce the death of God. Normal POV. Kokubile was standing in the middle of the ground in Kuo Academy, and in front of him were Zenovia and Kiba on their knees panting while holding their respective swords as their balance to not fall down, and the other members were either getting helped by Asia or getting power boost from Tatsuya. Kokubile, you are too stubborn for people who have lost their master. Zenovia, what do you mean Kokubile? Kokubile laughed creepily. Kokubile, you all are going to die anyway, so I might as well say, in the Great War the god died alongside the 4 great Satans. Rias, you are lying. We never heard anything like that. Kokubile, it's a very well hidden secret only known by the higher-ups of the 3 factions, and if you don't believe me, then can you explain how can holy and demonic elements get combined? If God was there he wouldn't let such a thing happen. Asia, but what about the love he gives us by answering our prayers? Kokubile, Michael has been doing good job as the leader of heaven and is able to use system to answer prayers, although he cannot use it as effectively as Father. Zenovia fell on her knees. Meanwhile Asia collapsed from shock, and rest were too shocked to speak or do anything. Soon the barrier shattered and all eyes were in the figure clad in white armor descending, and Tatsuya's boosted gear started glowing. Kokubile, impossible, the white dragon has not been awakened yet, how can this be? Issei, shut up you crow. Kokubile's eyes twitched at insult, but then he smiled creepily. Kokubile, it's a good thing now I can kill the white dragon and then kill the rest of them, ultimately starting the war again and not worrying about any interferences from dragon emperors. Kokubile flew in the air and made a gigantic spear double the size of Kuo Academy, and if that spear touches the ground then the whole Kuo city will be annihilated from existence, but to Issei it cannot be even called a love tap. Issei extended his right hand forward, and the word divide can be heard. Albion, divide, 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 divide. And the gigantic spear was gone, and the full power of the spear was absorbed by Issei. Then Issei used the power he got and in a flash appeared behind Kokubile and ripped a pair of his wings. Soon Kokubile fell to the ground and barely stood up, clutching his back in pain, which had 4 pair of wings, being 8 wings in total, as Issei had already teared apart a pair of wings, making him go from having 10 to 8 wings. With Rias and other. By now the student council has also joined the show, staring wide-eyed at the scene before them. Saji, WW, with just one move from him Kokubile is in that condition. Saji said, pointing his shaky finger at Issei. Kaneko, seems eso. Back to the battle. Kokubile, yo you damn lizard. Issei narrowed his eyes and held his right hand's index finger, and a ray of silvery white energy at speed of light pierced through Kokobe's right part of the chest, and due to excessive blood loss he was knocked unconscious. Albion mentally, good thinking partner, condensing the dragon shot into a ray and piercing his chest. Issei nodded and went down and looked at the unconscious Kokobe, and then he picked up Kokobe and throwed it to the figure who was watching him all along from the roof of the Kuo Academy. The figure caught the body of Kokobe and looked at Issei for some time and left, but Issei recognized him as Valley Lucifer, the great-grandson of the original Lucifer, and who would have been the White Dragon Emperor if not for Issei getting divine dividing. Issei was about to leave, but Draig's voice resounded in vicinity. "Draig, are you ignoring me, Albion?" Then Issei's energy feathers glowed as Albion spoke. "Albion? Oh, so you are here, Draig. Forgive me, your host was so weak I didn't even sense him." Draig growled in anger. Although only Albion's voice can be heard, Issei knew fully well the white lizard was smirking and having the time of his life. "Draig, for now, Albion, soon my host will surpass yours." "Albion, in your dreams, Draig, even my strongest host nor cannot be compared to my current host, as my current host is a monster of another level." Issei mentally, "By nor do you mean that last host I killed, that middle-aged man with blue hair and purple eyes?" Albion mentally, "Yes, you are right. Draig, so the strongest white dragon has appeared, huh?" Albion, "Yes, and it wouldn't be long till our name will brought fear to even beings of top 10. Draig just growled, but this time it was loud for everyone to hear. "Issei, are you done, partner?" Albion, "Of course I am done talking to these weaklings, partner." Draig, Albion, haha. Issei then looked at Tatsuya, and Rias came in front of Tatsuya, making Issei chuckle. "Issei, get stronger, Tatsuya, or else even your mistress and his brother can't protect you, as in this world the strong rules over the weak and you are weak." Tatsuya clenched his fists and somehow mustered the courage to speak to the monster of a being in front of him. "Tatsuya, how did you know my name?" Issei didn't answer and flew off to a random direction, and after reaching certain distance dispelled the balance breaker and teleported back to his room and changed into his nightwear and slept with a smirk plastered on his face, and the same could be said for Albion. New form, Gremmeries and Peace Conference. A morning. It's been some hours since Issei has crushed Kokobe in a fight, and Issei has woken up early today than he does every day, and after waking up Issei has taken a long hot bath and changed into some comfortable, whereas today is Sunday, meaning no school. After he was done, he went down to the living room and went to kitchen and made himself some coffee and went to sit on couch and then started to quietly drink his coffee, all the while planning what to do today, as in 4 days there will be the results, and as Issei has transferred recently after semester, his result isn't coming, but that's not what's he planning. The thing he is planning for is the visit of Gremmeries, Peace Conference, and remembering about those events from his memories, he is also quite excited to find some changes in this events, as this is alternate world. Then Issei was brought out of his thoughts by the sound of lift opening, and he saw Tatsuya coming from lift and sat beside him. "Tatsuya, looks like you have awakened before you normally do." Same can be said for you." Tatsuya just nodded with a bitter smile. "Issei, what happened?" Tatsuya, "I came to know how weak I was yesterday." Issei, "Oh, what do you mean?" Issei played dumb. Tatsuya, "I know we were attacked tomorrow and I wasn't able to defend my friends and siblings. If it weren't for that man coming and saving us, we would have been hurt severely or even die." Issei, "Did the thugs attack you?" Tatsuya, "Huh? Oh yes, the thugs attacked us when we were coming back from school." Issei nodded. Albion mentally, "He sucks at lying." Issei rolled his eyes. Issei mentally, "Of course." Issei mentally, "How is the preparation of new form going?" Albion, "It will be ready in 2 days." Issei, "In 2 days, huh? That will give us 2 days left to train before peace meeting." Albion, "Did you forget? You can always go in dimensional gap. Their time flows differently. 1 hour in outside world is equal to 4 hours inside dimensional gap. You could train there for 8 days, and in outside world it will be only 2 days. Issei, you really are a lifesaver, Albi. I almost forgot that." Albion just grunted and cut of the link. Issei then looked at Tatsuya, whose fingers were curled up into a fist, and sighed. Issei, Listen Tatsuya, if you really want to play hero then be strong enough so you can. A hero must have power to protect himself first, then think about helping others, or else they die protecting others, and you are weak if you really want to protect others first, become strong enough to protect yourself. Issei took the last sip of his coffee and got up, patted Tatsuya's shoulder and left for outside. Issei was currently walking through streets with a nostalgic smile on his face. Issei, everything is same, it's like time has stopped moving here for the rest 10 years. Albion. Indeed, just as the time we left. Issei looked around some time, and after 2 hours if roaming around he went to his newly renovated house and had breakfast with the residents of Hayata Mansion, but the whole breakfast went of an a tense atmosphere as none spoke anything, the teens, except Issei, due to what happened yesterday, and the adults were too sleepy to bring in a conversation, and seeing as no one talked Issei didn't bother. After the breakfast Issei whole day reading some novels he like and watching movies with Albion, as even though he needs training but rest once a while is must. After that all had dinner and the night came. Time skipped 2 days. The 2 days were over in a breeze, and Issei did some light training and went with his schedule of wake up, school, dinner, light training and sleep for 2 days, and in these 2 days Zenovia has joined Rias's peerage as a knight and has started living in Hayata Mansion, and also have been admitted to Kuo Academy alongside Irina, who too admitted in Kuo Academy in the same class as Issei and Zenovia. Issei had informed his parents that he has some work in Tokyo and will be Kuo of for 2 days. His parents at first declined, but after some convincing agreed. And currently Issei was currently a bit far from Kuo, flying with his 2 pair of wings, 1 pair of divine dividing, other being his draconic wings. Issei looked around to see no one followed him, then he made a small barrier around him so no one notices him, and condensed peak Satan class energy in his fingers and cut through air, ripping a hole in the air which was the path to dimensional gap. Issei dispelled the barrier and entered the dimensional gap, and the hole in air closed. Issei, last time I came here was 10 years ago. Albion. Indeed, it's been some time, but let's get started what we came here for. Issei nodded and began the chant. They both prepared alongside Albion. Issei, I who am about to awaken. Albion. I am the heavenly dragon god that reigns over the principle of supremacy and domination. Issei, I envy, laugh and ignore the infinite. Albion. I pursue, crush and surpass the dreams. Issei and Albion. I shall become the silvery crimson dragon god of supremacy and domination. Issei and Albion. I shall drown you in the depths of crimson purgatory to the heights of black heavens, and I shall you the perfect silvery ways of annihilation. Issei and Albion. Heavenly dragon god overdrive. Soon Issei was covered in a silvery crimson armor. Both silver and crimson colors were perfectly mixed, and his right knee, shoulder gems were blue, meanwhile his left knee, shoulder gems were green, and the bigger soul gem on his chest was half green and half blue in yin yang pattern, and behind his back were 2 pairs of wings, one the normal divine dividing wings but slightly bigger, other being divine dividing wings, but the energy feathers inside them were crimson red, and he had a golden horn like crown on his head, giving him a majestic look. Issei, the power coursing though my veins it's vast. Albion. Yes, this is the power of both heavenly dragons combined. The pride was oozing of Albion's words. Issei, I can master the energy and stamina consumption on my own, but I need your help for Drake's abilities, as you have fought him many times and know how they works. Albion, then let's begin. Time skip 8 days. Issei was currently mediating in his heavenly dragon god overdrive, and soon he dispelled the armor and stretched his hands with a wide smile. Issei, and its heavenly dragon god overdrive has been mastered. Albion, yes, at last we did it. Issei in these 8 days trained continuously without any break, not even for sleeping, as he was a half-dragon. He can manage without sleep for months. The results he got were satisfactory, as in first 2 days he took care of the energy and stamina consumption of the heavenly dragon god overdrive, like he did for Imperio Juggernaut overdrive. And for 4 days he mastered Drake's abilities with Albion's help. It wasn't that hard, as he just has to find effective ways to use them, like boosting and transferring power to his regeneration speed and stuff, and the last 2 days he go through everything he had trained previous 6 days, and all 8 days he was in Heavenly Dragon God overdrive form. Issei, *Psi*, I will take a hot long bath now. Albion, of course you deserve it. Issei yawned and condensed his energy at his fingers and cut through the dimensional gap and landed somewhere in a forest and immediately teleported to his room and checked time form clock near his bed and it showed 4 a.m. Issei sighed in relief as it was still midnight he can rest too and so he magically washed his clothes and kept them in his closet and left to take a long hot bath that he promised himself. After bath, Issei was now wearing his nightwear and resting on his bed. Albion. Partner, I have a favor to ask. Issei, what is it, partner? Albion, when you fight Crouch in future only fight using my and Drake's power. Issei, okay, it will be fun that way seeing how much far that form can take me. Albion grunted and cut off the link and both him and Issei slept. Next morning, Issei came down his rook after getting freshened up and was walking towards dining table as he woke up quite late than he normally do and when reaching the dining table he saw a young man who looked to be about 20 years old with long crimson hair, greenish, blue eyes and pale complexion. He looked to be about 6 feet from what Issei can guess and was wearing a white formal coat and beside him was a silver-haired woman with crimson red eyes and pale skin and she had a voluptuous figure. She was wearing a maid outfit which complemented her beauty even more and the last of them was a middle-aged man with long crimson hair, blue eyes and pale complexion wearing a white formal coat like the other redhead and the identities of them were Surzex Lucifer, Graphia Lucifuge and Zeoticus Gremory respectively. Surzex, he must be your youngest son Issei Hayadu. Goro, yes he is. Surzex, hello. Issei, I am Surzex Lucifer. Surzex offers a handshake which Issei returns. Issei Hayadu. After that they all talked mainly Goro, Surzex and Zeoticus and occasionally Rias but Issei didn't bother with any of them as he was sure they are here for open house and Seraphal Leviathan will also come. After lunch, Issei was currently walking with his family to school. Although his results weren't there he can still enjoy the day for why only his family were there not Rias was because Surzex and Zeoticus asked Rias to take them for a tour around Kuo and of course Graphia went with them. After reaching school, Goro went with Tatsuya to his class and Miki went with Asia to her class. Meanwhile Issei was walking around the school seeing it in all its glory. Issei, the school is vast, really the anime didn't do justice to it. Mumbled Issei. As Issei was touring he went inside gym as it was few of the parts of the school he hadn't been to and as soon as he reached there he saw a crowd of people cursing student council and moving away from the gym. He went inside curious as to what was caused this and fortunately or unfortunately he saw a magical girl there hugging Sona. Issei went and greeted Orc and stood beside them to watch the show of ever stoic and strict president being read from embarrassment. Issei, it's a rare sight to see isn't it he? Rias. Why have no idea, said Rias while trying to control her laughter. Seraphal stopped hugging and looked at Issei and blushed while pointing her finger at him asked. Seraphal, who is that handsome man? Tatsuya, my younger brother Issei. Seraphal. In a flash she appeared in front of Issei. Seraphal, have you watched Magical Girl Milky Spiral 7? Issei, yeah. Issei looked around and then at Tatsuya and his eyes gained a mischievous glint. Issei, Tatsuya here is a big fan of whatever you said. Tatsuya. What? Seraphal, really? She asked with stars in her eyes. Issei, yes I have seen him wear the same costume as you and do weird poses. Tatsuya, I never did any dash. Seraphal jumped at Tatsuya rubbing her face against his and started talking about the show. Tatsuya, still being hugged by Seraphal. Just you wait Issei. Issei, oh looks like mother is calling me boy. Issei immediately ran off. Meanwhile Albion sighed in relief. Albion mentally, thank the dead god I thought I would get the title of Milky Spiral Dragon just by being in close proximity to her sigh. Issei, what did you say Milky Spiral Dragon? Albion started cursing Issei who cut of the link further annoying the dragon. Time skip. After Issei left the gym he went and saw some student presentations and before he knew it was already evening he was on his way to home with his family and Rias has informed them that she alongside her family has already reached the Hayadu mansion and were waiting for them but in his way Issei felt a powerful aura of Satan class. He looked around and saw that Tatsuya and Asia both seemed bothered by the pressure due to the power of Satan class behind it but they didn't act almost as if it was planned. Seeing this Issei narrowed his eyes and stopped. Miki, what happened Issei? Issei, I remember I had to run a errand. I will come by in few minutes. Issei ran of and after going sufficient distance he entered his balance breaker and went to where pressure came from and surprisingly reached Kuo Academy's roof and saw a silvered-hair woman with red eyes and voluptuous figure wearing maid outfits starting at him. Woman, so you came, White Dragon. Issei, how can I not when you so dearly invited me, silvered-haired queen of annihilation Graphia Lucifuge. The woman revealed to be Graphia looked at him for some time trying to measure his power but sighed when she found nothing and said, Graphia, the 3 faction leaders have invited you to peace conference taking today midnight at 3 am. Be sure to be there. She magically floated a paper to him which he caught and saw it to be a teleportation circle which will teleport him to the meeting place. Issei, then I will take my leave. Graphia nodded and Issei teleported to near his house and dispelled the balance breaker and then teleported to his room as not to caught the attention of Lucifer. He teleported near his house so Lucifer will concentrate on the new power in vicinity and taking that as an advantage he teleported to his roof and went unnoticed by everyone. Midnight 3 am. Issei has entered his balance breaker and was holding the teleportation circle and pushed a bit of magic there and was teleported to the place in a glow, and when the light died down, Issei looked around and saw Surzex sitting with Graphia standing by his side and Rias with her peerage behind Surzex. Seraphal was sitting beside Surzex with Sona and her peerage behind her. Azazel was sitting beside Michael with Vala behind him, and finally Michael with Irina behind him glaring daggers at Zenobia. But what caught Issei's eyes wasn't Irina but the beautiful woman beside Michael, if that word can even describe her. She has long blonde hair that reached till her waist with emerald green eyes, pale complexion, and had a voluptuous figure that can make Graphia look like an ordinary girl, and from what Issei can guess her height must be around 5 feet 8 inches. Issei thinking, I think the women beside Michael will be Gabriel. After all, who else can be this beautiful except the most beautiful women in all of heaven? Graphia, White Dragon, please take a seat. Issei looked and saw an empty chair beside Gabriel. He smirked and dispelled his balance breaker, and as soon as his face was revealed many became shocked. They were Surzex, Graphia, Seraphal, Sona and her peerage, Rias and her peerage. Tatsuya, what Issei? You are the White Dragon Emperor. Issei shrugged. Issei, yes I am. Although everyone had questions they kept quiet. They can ask anything they want after the peace conference, as peace conference was of top priority. Issei then sat on his allotted chair and saw Gabriel looking at him curiously. He looked at Gabriel and smiled, causing Gabriel to blush a little and look down. Meanwhile, the whole room, mainly the devils, have recovered from their earlier shock and were now ready to begin the meeting. Graphia, hello everyone, I am Graphia Lucifuge, the queen of Surzex, Lucifer and headmaid of the Gremory House, and I am also the host of this meeting. Now the peace conference between the 3 biblical factions begin. Peace conference. Intruders and Cows Brigade. Graphia, hello everyone, I am Graphia Lucifuge, the queen of Surzex, Lucifer and the headmaid of the Gremory House, and I am also the host of this meeting. Now the peace conference between the 3 biblical factions begins. All the leaders nodded and soon Rias and Sona stepped forward and gave their side of reports. All listened to their reports, and after they ended their report, Surzex asked Azazel. Surzex, so Azazel, mind telling us why Kokabil wanted to restart the Great War? Azazel, well, I think he was dissatisfied by the truce between all of us, as he was even against retreating from Great War, but I still retreated our forces, so I guess that's why he wanted to restart the war. Michael, that sounds like Kokabil. Even during his time in heaven he frequently asked for spars from every strong being he met. Seraphal, so where exactly is he? I remember that Sotan did mention White Dragon Emperor didn't killed him. Sona's mouth twitched at being called Sotan and her ears were also little red from embarrassment. Azazel, I punished him by freezing him and sending him off to Cocytus. Surzex and Seraphal nodded satisfied. After that they talked about some previous controversial matters regarding their factions, and fortunately all the misunderstandings were cleared. Now the opinions of Dragon Emperors came in. Azazel, there are still some strong beings that can affect the peace greatly, so I would like to ask the opinions of White and Red Dragon Emperors on peace and their respective goals. Tatsuya, I guess I want peace, as war will result in many innocent deaths. Tatsuya said, scratching his cheek. Albion mentally, a protagonist indeed. Sei rolled his eyes. Issei mentally, what did you expect? Albion mentally, to be honest I expected it to play like canon where he agreed to peace so he can make love to Rias. Issei mentally, he is little bit better than canon Issei personality-wise and even is somewhat mature as even though he is a pervert he doesn't scream a pay and butchu every time he opens his mouth. Albion chuckled. Issei was brought out of his conversation with Albion by Azazel asking Tatsuya about his goal. Azazel, good, so what is your goal, Red Dragon Emperor? Tatsuya, I want to be strong enough so I can protect my loved ones even against gods. Tatsuya announced with determination, oozing off of him. Azazel nodded satisfied. Surzex, now White Dragon Emperor Issei, what are your opinion on peace of 3 biblical factions? All looked at Issei, especially Gabriel who was looking at him unblinking. Issei, I agree, peace is a thing everyone desires and if there is a chance of it then I am all for it. Surzex smiled. Azazel, oh good, so what your goal must be? Vala now looked at Issei as he has seen Issei's strength and want to know what his goal might be. Issei, my goal is to be the strongest there is, so strong that not even whole world combined can defeat me, so strong that my name will brought fear to the higher-up beings of top 10 and ultimately become the dragon god of supremacy. All were surprised by the goal of White Dragon Emperor as not many have that goal due to the challenges they face to reach this goal and also the beings of top 10 are monsters that could level up factions. Meanwhile Valis smirked in anticipation of his battle with Issei. Azazel, haha, quite a good goal you both dragons have. You both really are 2 sides of a coin, one wanting to be strong for his loved ones and the other wants to be strong for himself and become a dragon god, quite amusing to say the least. Surzex, you have my good luck to achieve that goal of yours, Issei, he said with a smile. Issei, thanks, but you know you are far too kind to be a devil king. Surzex just laughed. Graphia, now may I have all your attention? All stopped and looked at Graphia and when she saw she got their attention she spoke. Graphia, so do the leaders of 3 faction agree to peace? Azazel, I agree with peace. Michael, I agree with peace. Surzex and Seraphal, I agree with peace. All leaders together, let there be peace between 3 biblical factions. Graphia, so that conclude. Before Graphia got to finish the time stopped and everyone froze except the leaders of 3 factions, Graphia, Gabriel, Zenobia, Irina, Issei, Tatsuya and Gremory Peerage. Irina and Zenobia were protected by their respective holy swords, Tatsuya was protected by boosted gear and Gremory Peerage was protected by Surzex by using his power of destruction. Meanwhile, just like the faction leaders, Issei was strong enough to resist the time stop easily, but the armies of devils, angels and fallen angels have been frozen in time. Azazel, seems like we have some uninvited guests and they stopped time. If I remember correctly, the other bishop of Rias Gremory has a sacred gear called Forbidden Bailorview, so he must have been kidnapped and forced to enter Balance Breaker to stop our forces. Azazel said the last part, looking out of the window to see dozens of frozen in time soldiers of devils, angels and fallen angels, and a lot of teleportation circle were appearing in the sky and from them magicians were entering. Seeing the dire situation, Rias spoke. Rias, brother, I can use castling with my rook Kaneko as I left her there to protect Gasper. Surzex, I will be able to increase the power of casting, so take Tatsuya with you, and Tatsuya, I am trusting you to protect her. Tatsuya, you can count on me. Soon the castling took place and where Rias and Tatsuya were standing was covered by a crimson-red glow, and when the glow died down, Rias and Tatsuya has been teleported away. In their place was a white rook piece which Graphia picked up, perhaps to give it to Rias later? Issei looked at all of this uninterested as he already knew what was about to take place. Vale? Azazel, may I? Azazel? Oh yes, of course, it seems the magicians have fully assembled their forces. Vale nodded and his hands a golden axe appeared with strange but beautiful designs of lions. Seeing the axe, the faction leaders were shocked, but the one most shocked was Issei. Issei mentally, holy fuck. How in the hell does he have Regulus Nemia? Albion mentally, unbelievable. Vale, Balance Breaker. Soon Vale was covered in a golden armor. It covered his whole body, only showing his face, and behind his helmet golden fur-like hair were present, and in the chest place the face picture Nemean lion was carved out, and through it the Nemean lion can see and also speak. Issei mentally, what about Sarorg? If my predictions are correct, then he should be as strong as Canon. Even if he doesn't have Regulus-nemia, he must have something else to boost his strength. Albion mentally, it's quite reasonable indeed. As this an alternate world? Issei nodded and saw. Valley used magic and flew out of window, albeit crashing and breaking the mirror. Soon, all of the participants went to the ground of Kuo Academy to see Valley fighting some magicians, and soon enough Rias and Tatsuya with Gasper and Kaneko arrived. Surzex, did you meet any retaliation, Rias? Rias nodded and said, Rias, yes, but they were taken care by the combined efforts of Tatsuya and Gasper. Azazel, don't tell me both Dragon Emperors are going to sit this fight out? Surzex looked at Rias, who in turn looked at Tatsuya, who nodded and brought out his boosted gear and punched a magician right in the face. Meanwhile, Azazel looked at Issei, who sighed. Issei, balance breaker. Issei in a split second entered his balance breaker and flew to the skies, all the while killing dozens of magicians. Azazel, hate to break it to you, Surzex, but the difference between the current White Dragon and Red Dragon Emperors are like heaven and earth. Surzex nodded his head slowly, seeing Issei slaughter multiple magicians with each of his attacks, but what surprised both Surzex and Azazel is the fact there were literally 0 openings. Issei showed all the while slaughtering magicians without a care. Tatsuya, he can already use Balance Breaker without sacrificing any of his body parts. Even though I sacrificed one of my arms, I was barely able to use Balance Breaker for 10 seconds. Mumbles Tatsuya. Soon a magic circle with the insignia of Leviathan came into the field, and from it came a woman with light brown hair, brown skin, purple eyes, and with a huge bust. She looked at the current leaders of devils in disgust. Seraphal, what do you want, Kateria Leviathan? The women, now revealed to be Kateria, spoke with voice full of venom. Kateria, shut up, you fake Leviathan. I come here to kill you all and take my rightful place as the Satan Leviathan. Azazel, leave the chick to me. Azazel flew up to the sky and stared at Kateria Leviathan. Soon she threw barrage of demonic spells at him, which Azazel avoided easily by doing slight movements. Seeing this, Kateria narrowed her eyes and started using her water. She shaped water into multiple weapons and threw them at Azazel, who sent multiple light spears at Kateria, and both attacks collided, causing smoke to appear. Taking this as advantage, Azazel sent 100 light spears all together, hoping one would at least hit Kateria. When the smoke cleared, it revealed Kateria with light spear impaled at her right shoulder and left hand. She gritted her teeth in anger and pain and removed the light spear from her body. Even though it burned her when she touched it, she cannot just let the light spear weaken her, as she has already lost much of her demonic reserves and had no choice but to use the snake given by Ophis. She then took out a bottle from her pocket with a snake inside it. Seeing the snake, Azazel recognized it, and without any second thought pulled out a spear from his coat with a purple gem attached to it. Kateria consumed the snake, making her power level go to mid-Satan class temporarily. She gave Azazel a maniac smile, thinking she has already won. Seeing this, Azazel raised his hands, which was holding the spear up, and said, Azazel, let's check my artificial sacred gear that I created, shall we? I call it the Downfall Dragon Spear. Now let me show you its power. Downfall Dragon Balance Breaker. Soon Azazel was covered in golden armor, much similar to Balance Breaker of boosted gear and Divine Dividing. The only difference it was more bulky and had purple gems, and Azazel in an instant lunged at Kateria and easily defeated her with a light sword. But seeing as she was dying, Kateria thought to take Azazel down with, so she drank some sort of portion and her body started to turn ugly, become green in color, and also growing her height and flexibility. Kateria, if I am dying, then I will take one of you with me. Her hands quickly grabbed onto Azazel's right arm and started dissolving the armor of Downfall Dragon. Azazel sighed and cut off his right arm and impaled light spear in Kateria's brain, killing her instantly. Azazel, no way in hell would I die with a ugly bitch like you, muttered Azazel, and then he caught the Downfall Spear and put it back into his coat, and then he cast a spell on his severed arm, stopping the bleeding, and as soon as he did that, he was hit by a golden blur from behind, sending him knocking to the ground. Azazel used his left arm, which was still intact, and got up from the hole, looking at the figure who attacked him, and smirked. Azazel, I must be getting old if you can get a hit on me, Valley. Valley smirked in the air. All have taken care of the magicians and were gathering near Azazel and Valley to see what was it about. Azazel, to think you would join the new terrorist organization, what was it called? Yes, Chaos Brigade, but still for the leader to be Ophis was quite a shock to me. Surzex, oh Ophis, are you sure? Azazel. Azazel, yes, I have confirmed it. Tatsuya, who is this Ophis? Rias, Ophis. Riss started speaking but Issei cut her off. Issei, Ophis is the infinite dragon god ranking on first place in the top 10 strongest beings, and the only equal she have is Great Red, who is the true red dragon god emperor. He is also known as Dragon of Dreams as his domain is dreams, and he is the sole being that can rival Ophis in the whole world, but I assure you it wouldn't be for long. Tatsuya, what the strongest being in the whole world is the leader of a terrorist organization. Valley, indeed Ophis is the leader of Chaos Brigade. Azazel, though you would have been friends with Kateria as you both had your seat as Satan's taken away from you. Surzex, what do you mean Azazel? Azazel just remained silent. Valley, I would never befriend a fool like her. Now all of you let me formally introduce myself. I am Valley Lucifer, the great-grandson of the original Lucifer. I am a half-breed born of a human mother and grandson of original Lucifer, and also happens to be the wilder of Longinus Regulus Nemia. Seraphol, a descendant of original Lucifer who also has a Longinus, quite troubling. Surzex, a half-breed, no wonder we didn't notice him. Valley then looked at Issei. Valley, fight me, White Dragon Emperor, show me how strong you are. Issei looked at him for some time and walked forward with hands in his pocket. Issei, you are weak, so try your best, but you wouldn't be able to put a scratch on me. Issei entered his balance breaker and looked at Valley. Valley, don't blame me when I kill you. Valley lunged at Issei and attacked him with barrage of punches, kicks, and even attacked him with many magic and demonic spells, and after 10 minutes Valley was panting heavily but didn't manage to hit Issei even once. Issei, let me show you what true power means. Issei in a flash appeared in front of Valley and punched him in the gut, followed by another punch on the chest and a kick on the head. Valley was sent hurtling till he crashed in gym, fully destroying it. He barely woke up with his hand on his hand with pained expression on his face. Issei thinking, of course it was easy, I just used power of a Satan class and here he is almost knocked out. Psi I overestimated him. Soon the barrier broke, revealing a man with a long staff in his hands and wearing some weird battle armor of old. It was Bikwa, the descendant of Sun Wukong, who looked at Valley mortified. Biko, who the hell gave you this beating? Valley, I fought the White Dragon Emperor, he was strong to strong. Said Valley, posting finger at Issei, who has long dispelled his balance breaker. Azazel, to think a descendant of Sun Wukong will work with a descendant of Lucifer, how interesting. Tatsuya, who is he? Azazel, Biko, the descendant of Sun Wukong. Tatsuya, Bikwa, we are leaving Valley, you need rest, and then we will depart to fight the Northern Earth gods. Valley nodded nimbly, then Viku tapped his staff on ground while, and they went inside a portal and disappeared. After this everyone left for their home, and Issei was going home with Orc and Irina, who was cheerfully talking to Zenobia, as both have recently cleared up the misunderstanding between them, which surprised him as that didn't happen till Loki arc, but still this is an alternate world, was reminded to him by Albion. Issei sighed as he knows there are a lot to explain to everyone. After he reached homes, he will get a barrage of question coming at him. Truth, underworld, and a dragon. Issei was currently sitting on couch opposite to Orc and Irina. They were currently in the meeting room, which was situated in the highest floor of Hayadu Mansion, as he and Orc alongside Irina has just returned from the peace conference, and there were questions that he was about to answer for them. The tense atmosphere was broken by Rias. Rias. So when did you awaken your scared gear? Say, at the age of 5. Tatsuya. What? Asia. Issei, now I am doubting why you went to America. Was it really to study? Issei looked at her for some time and sighed. Issei, no, it was to train freely from all eyes as Quo was being watched by devils. Issei further answered some questions, but he didn't answer anything to them regarding his strength. Say, so I guess that's it. Rias. Actually no, you see, my brother contacted me and told me to inform you that you are invited to Youth Devils Gathering as a special guest. Issei mentally, why is that? Albion, do you have any idea? Albion mentally, You did show them your strength by easily taking down a cadre even if the weakest, but still a cadre, and your fight with Vale might have been the trigger for it, so I think the Devils wants to have a good relationship with you, as they might have guessed your future being limitless, and they are right about it too, as currently at your full power you can easily take down the combined force of 3 factions easily with your Susano combined with the Heavenly Dragon God Overdrive. Issei listened to Albion and then looked at Rias. Say, tell the Lucifer I would come. Rias. Okay, so you can come with us as we are leaving to Underworld tomorrow as vacation begins tomorrow. Issei. It begins tomorrow? Tatsuya. Yes, in Kuo Academy the vacation is started after results, and results were give recently. Issei nodded and walked out of the meeting room to his room and crashed on his bed. Next morning, Azazel has officially become the club advisor of Orc and was going together with Orc and Issei to Underworld. Issei was currently in the Dimensional train station. It's a train that takes one underworld, and for why it's named dimensional, then it's simple because it crosses through dimensions, as Underworld is not under Earth but in a different dimensions, and it was very huge. You can guess it by the fact Anki the Gremrys posse's land equivalent or more to Japan. There are 31 other houses which have huge amount of lands too, and not counting the lands of the extinct pillars and extra houses, as original Lucifer created 72 houses called 72 pillars. They are from which high-class devils originate aside from extra houses and 6 houses of Lucifer. And as for what are 6 houses of Lucifer, well, they are higher in ranking compared to 72 pillars, as the 6 houses of Lucifer all directly served the original Lucifer, and they were known as the 6 houses of Lucifer due to swearing loyalty to original Lucifer and his house of Lucifer and working directly under them, and they were also known as Lucifer 6, and many consider them a part of Lucifer clan, so you can imagine their power. But currently of the 6 houses of Lucifer, only Lucifuge remains, as during Great War and Devil Civil War most of the members died of 6 houses of Lucifer, and the houses went extinct even though some of their survivors are alive. Note: I made it so 6 houses of Lucifer are not a part of extra demons, so don't complain, it's alternate worlds and there will be changes from me in it. Beside them there are some extra demon houses, but they are not a part of 6 houses of Lucifer like the Abaddon house, but still they are high-class pure-blooded devils. Even though 6 houses of Lucifer are higher in ranking than 72 pillars, but it's a pity that only the Lucifuge house is the remaining active and existing house of the 6 houses of Lucifer. Well, not just Underworld but Heaven too. Many think that Heaven is in upper sky or in some layer of atmosphere, but that isn't true, as it's in another dimension just like Underworld. I was currently seated in Gremry train next to Azazel and the whole peerage of Gremry executing Irina as she didn't come, and the whole peerage of Gremry was in another separate room together due to Azazel telling them he has to talk something with me alone, so they left from mine room to other, but I think it's because it would be easy to get them dropped down in front of Tannen if they are assembled in a room. I was brought out of my thinking my Azazel. Azazel, so White Dragon Emperor. Issei, you can call me Issei. Azazel? Okay Issei, so I want to talk to you regarding some things. Issei. Okay, but let me get this straight, I won't tell anything regarding my sacred gear. Azazel. Okay, but still I have a question. The sudden laid-back attitude of Azazel was changed to his serious leader mode, making Issei amused at the sudden change. Azazel. From Aquino I learned you awakened your sacred gear at the age of 5. It was quite a shock for me. The Satans and Seraphs for a child to awaken the Longinus early, but there have been some cases like this, so we left it at that. But Issei thinking, like Tobio accuse awakening balance from his birth. Issei, but? Azazel, why reveal yourself now? What exactly are you planning? Issei looked at Azazel and started laughing, confusing the fallen. Issei, I hadn't had a laugh like that in some time. But still, do you think I am that stupid for me to reveal myself early when I was weak and couldn't protect myself from being of high levels just so they can make me a part of their faction or even kill me? And for what I am planning I already said it at peace conference? Azazel nodded and looked impressed by Issei's intellect, as many White and Red Dragon Emperors reveal themselves in their weak and vulnerable state just to gain fame as a wilder of a Longinus, the group of sacred gears crowned to have power to kill gods and Satans alike. Azazel, I see. And Azazel reverted back to his laid-back attitude. Issei, was it just that? Azazel, And some questions about divine dividing, but you decline to answer it. Well, anyway, I will leave and check on the Tatsuya and others as a club advisor should do. Azazel left, but still Issei felt something was unusual and his hunch was never wrong, and soon enough Issei was thrown out of the train, but Issei brought out his divine dividing wings in time and looked around and find the place quite familiar as he recognized it as the place Orc was tested against Tannen in canon. Issei, don't tell me it's my test instead of Orc. Albion, seems so I feel Tannen's presence. Issei nodded and landed down and retracted his divine dividing wings and looked for Tannen, but as soon as he found Tannen he was hit by flamethrower. Issei dodged the flamethrower and looked at Tannen. Soon his crystal blue eyes became crimson red with 3 black tomo which rotated and formed a shuriken. Tannen was surprised seeing change in Issei's eyes but still attacked Issei with flamethrower. Issei, Kamui. Issei calmly said, and the torrent of flames were sent in Kamui dimension. Tannen looked surprised seeing his flames disappear, but he again fired torrent of flames but increased the flames from previously 50% to his full power. But again Issei used Kamui and rendered the torrent of flames useless, and Tannen, seeing his flames useless, went in for close combat. Tannen struck Issei with his tail, but Issei dodged it doing slight movements. Tannen then went in and smashed his fist towards Issei, who counters it with his own and evenly matched it. Tannen thinking, this White Dragon Emperor is very strong, he isn't even using his sacred gear but fighting me with his own strength. Interesting. Tannen smiled, showing his razor-sharp fangs, and continuously attacked Issei with his hands, feet and sometimes tails, but Issei dodged them and sometimes even returned them with his own attack. Issei thinking, this is going nowhere, let's finish it. Soon a white huge hands with tinge of silver materialized and grabbed Tannen, fully capturing him in his fist. Yes, Issei used imperfect Susanoo and materialized its hand and grabbed Tannen fully by his stomach to waist, and soon Issei applied pressure on Tannen by closing the fist of his imperfect Susanoo, and a roar of pain was released by Tannen. Then Issei throwed Tannen towards a huge boulder and then used his imperfect Susanoo's hand to punch Tannen when he tried to get up, knocking Tannen out unconscious. Issei now looked up the hill to see Azazel alongside Orc staring at him with their mouth wide open, and Issei flew to them and landed there. Issei, thanks for the good fight I got, due to you, Azazel. Azazel came out of his stupor. Azazel, what the hell was that white arm? It's not a part of Divine Dividing's power. Issei, that was one of my own powers and I will not answer any questions have regarding them. Azazel, TSK cheeky bastard, but you know you defeated a former Dragon King. Soon as the Orc heard that they were on the verge of fainting. Tatsuya, a Dragon King like Tiamat? Azazel, he isn't as strong as Tiamat but he was close to it. Issei, so what now, we go train? Rias, and no, we fly, as we landed before the dimensional train station, and beside we are on the outskirts of the Gremory territory. Issei, can't we just teleport there? Rias, no, there are anti-magic teleportation devices set that doesn't let anyone that is not authorized teleport there, and I am not strong enough to teleport so much distance without external help. She said the last part embarrassed. Issei thinking, yes, her power level is around mid-class but still. Issei pointed at Tatsuya. Say, boost it then. She again blushed, forgetting something so important. After that, Tatsuya boosted his strength and transferred it to Rias, who moaned, making Issei cringe, but then she teleported all of them to the front door of Gremory main house, and the number of maids that greeted them were much more than shown in anime, and all of them blushed seeing Issei. Then a maid with silvery white hair like Issei and red eyes came forward, which Issei recognized as Graphia, and she bowed. Graphia, welcome home, Rias Oju-sama. After that, Graphia briefly made eye contact with Issei, and soon a red-haired kid appeared and ran towards Rias and hugged her. Aunt Rias, I missed you. Rias, I did to Milikas. She said, ruffling his hair. The boy, now identified as Milikas, broke the hug and bowed. Milikas, hello everyone, I am Milikas, the son of Surzex Lucifer and Graphia Lucifuge, it's nice meeting you. Tatsuya looked surprised at Milikas, but soon Tatsuya recovered. Tatsuya, you are Surzex-sama's son, it's nice meeting you. Milikas nodded, and then Graphia escorted Azazel, Gremory Peerage and Issei to living room where Venelana Gremory was there, who happily greeted her daughter. Venelana, oh Rias dear, you came. Rias, yes mother, it's nice seeing you again. She greeted Rias with a hug and looked at Tatsuya. Venelana. He must be your new pawn Tatsuya Hayadu and the current Red Dragon Emperor. Tatsuya. Yes. It's nice meeting you Lady Venelana. Venelana. No need for formalities, you can call me Oka-san. Rias blushed like tomato. Tatsuya. No, I can't, you are President's mother. Venelana. Well, if you are not comfortable now then I agree, but in a long term you have to call me Oka-san. Tatsuya nodded. Issei smirked and whispered to Tatsuya's ear. Issei, in short you agreed to marry Rias in future. Tatsuya blushed furiously and looked down now realizing what he has done. Venelana. Oh, and you handsome man must be the White Dragon Emperor of this generation I take? Issei. Yes, it's nice meeting Venelana Gremry. Venelana. Likewise, I hope you enjoy your stay at our humble abode. Issei nodded. Rias. Mother, where is brother? Venelana. He is in west side of the mansion near arena. Rias nodded and left. We kind of followed, we didn't what to do, it was her house scratch that no, it's her villa. After 30 minutes, yes 30 minutes walk we reached the west side of mansion. Seriously, the devils and their huge ass places. After reaching there we saw Surzex talking with a bulky man with black hair and purple eyes. Surzex. Oh Rias, then you came. Rias. Yes brother. Both siblings hugged each other. Meanwhile, I looked at the black-haired figure as I knew who he was. Rias. You all must not know him. She pointed at the black-haired figure. Rias. He is the one known as strongest youth devil and he is also the heir of the house of great King Bale. Meet Sarorg Bale, my cousin. Yes, the figure was Sarorg. Tatsuya. The strongest youth devil. Mumbled Tatsuya. Rias hugged Sarorg and both greeted each other. Sarorg. It's nice meeting you, the peerage of Rias, and he looked at me. Issei, the White Dragon Emperor. His eyes widened and soon he extended a handshake for me which I returned. Sarorg, I have heard of your feats, I would like to have a spar with you soon, White Dragon Emperor. Issei, I wouldn't mind sparring against the strongest youth devil either. Suddenly Surzex interrupted. Surzex. Why don't both of you spar now? I also want to see the strongest youth devil versus the White Dragon Emperor. Sarorg looked towards me and I nodded giving my approval. Surg, I agree. Issei, I wouldn't mind. A spar with Bale and departure for the youth devils gathering. Currently Issei and Sarorg were standing on the opposite ends of the arena and were being watched by Surzex and Orc. Sarorg, I will give it my all and I expect the same from you. Sarorg said, removing his formal shirt and revealing that underneath he was wearing a t-shirt that he uses for combat, and the t-shirt was also doing a good job in highlighting his bulky muscles. Say, you have to earn my best. Sarorg narrowed his eyes but nodded nonetheless. Surzex, this is a spar match between you both, so don't seriously injure each other, okay? Both nodded. Sarorg took fighting stance. Meanwhile Issei's crystal blue eyes became crimson red with 3 tomo that rotated and formed a shuriken, and seeing his eyes all were surprised. Surzex, Tatsuya-kun, do you know anything about those eyes? Tatsuya, and no, it's my first time seeing them. Surzex nodded. Surzex thinking, White Dragon, aren't you full of mysteries? Back with Issei. Sarorg, you are severely underestimating me if you are not using your divine dividing. Sarorg said displeased. Say, make me use it. Issei said with a smirk. Sarorg narrowed his eyes further and went in for strike. He rotated around Issei and tried to confuse him, and with a blur he rushed towards Issei with a punch, but what happened next surprised not only him but all. The punch went through Issei and Issei was smirking all the while. Sarorg, what kind of magic are you using? Issei remained stoic and didn't reply, but in truth it wasn't magic but a ability of his EMS that is a sub-skill of Kamui called Intangible, and it's a skill in which he have linked his body with Kamui dimension, and due to it any attack passes through him. In short, it's a broken skill which basically gives him unparalleled defense. Sarorg didn't accept his defeat. Just like that, he tried everything in his arsenal, from shockwaves of his punches, and he hit Issei with a barrage of kicks and punches. He even tried to hit Issei with some Tuki condensed blast, and Issei literally did nothing. He just stood there with an indifferent expression, and his ability Intangible was in use all the while, making everything that hits him get passed through. After 15 minutes, Sarorg was on his knees panting while Issei stared at him with a stoic face, but a hint of disappointment could be seen in his eyes. Issei, Serorg Bale get stronger. You are currently strongest youth devil, but you have potential to be strong enough to make Lucifer use his true form and still come out victorious, so I hope you make use of that potential. Serorg, I will, but the match isn't over yet. Issei smiled. He liked Serorg's will to never give up it. Reminded him of his younger self when sparring against Albion. At first he was absolutely crushed, but he stood back up again and again. No matter how high the pain was, he didn't care about it and fought till his body collapsed, and eventually he reached where he is now, and it all happened because of his will to never give up. Issei looked at Serorg and disappeared from his place and appeared behind him and chopped the back of his neck, knocking him out cold. After that, Issei walked towards the orc and Surzex, and surprisingly even Graphia was there. Meanwhile, Serorg was taken to a guest room by some maids who were nearby. Surzex, it was a good match, but what are those eyes of yours? I have never seen them before, and did what you used with their power? Issei, I won't answer anything regarding it, Surzex. Issei said solemnly, making Surzex more interested in what the eyes are and their use, but he pushed these thoughts to back of his mind and nodded. Graphia, you know you should call him Surzex-sama or Lucifer-sama and not by his name, she said with a bit of anger in her voice. Issei, I am not a devil, and that means he is not the leader of my race, so I am not obliged to show him respect, and besides, my respect is earned, not just given to anyone I meet. Graphia narrowed her eyes and pressured Issei with her power, but Issei looked unfazed. He looked at Graphia and returned the equal amount pressure, making Graphia surprised, but she retracted her pressure and nodded. Surzex just sighed at his wife's antics. Rias, brother, you said you made some training arrangements for me and my peerage? As if on the cue, Tannen appeared in the Gremory arena in his miniature form. Surzex, yes Rias, I did, and I guess you all already know him, but still he is Tannen, a former dragon king and reincarnated devil, and he will train Tatsuya for a month and drop him here before the Youth Devils gathering, and I have also made arrangements for your other peerage members. Tannen, it's nice meeting you, Lady Rias and her peerage alongside host of Draig and Abian. Rias, it's a pleasure meeting you to Tannen. Then a boosted gear appeared in Tatsuya's hand through which Draig spoke. Draig, indeed Tannen, it's been a long time. Tannen, yes Draig indeed. Tannen had some chat with Draig, and then divine dividing wings appeared on Issei's back. Albion, how are you faring up, Tannen? Tannen, after the beating I got, well, my back still aches, but still it's good getting to know that the White Dragon Emperor of this generation is this strong without even his sacred gear. Albion grunted and talked some time to Tannen and then left the conversation. Surzex, well Tannen, what did you mean by getting to know that White Dragon Emperor is this strong? Tannen, Lord Lucifer, I was offered a fight with the White Dragon Emperor to test him, and you can say he won easily. Surzex nodded, quite shocked. Why wouldn't he be? Tannen was a former dragon king, and dragon kings were strong enough to match some low to mid-level gods, and Tiamat, the strongest dragon king, is said to be as strong as a high-level god. After that, Tannen took Tatsuya to train in Dragon Mountains, and Kiba got his former teacher Okido Suji and left with him to train. Zenobia got another knight of Surzex to train her. Meanwhile, Kaneko got the rook of Surzex to train her. Rias, Aquino and Gasper training was done under Graphia herself, and Asia got the Bishop of Surzex to train her. In short, Surzex wanted everyone to get better at their specific departments, so he chose their trainers who were same chess paces as them but more experienced, so they can help them accordingly, like Rias and Aquino getting Graphia, who can help them in increasing and controlling their demonic energy and how to use it better, and she can also help Gasper get more mastery over his gear, as she is strong enough to resist the times top of Gasper's sacred gear and can give him some advices regarding how to control it. 1 month later, Issei was currently seeing Tatsuya crying tears of joy on Rias's breast, saying how much he missed them and complaining how Tannen made him sleep in a cave on leaves and how he had to hunt for his own food. But Issei can see the progress they all made, as when they left all were in mid-middle class, but now they are in high class. All of them are currently in mid of high class, close to getting at peak of high class in power. As for what Issei did, well, he went to a mountain area in Underworld and trained to get a better control of his powers, and went to see more of Underworld in his free time and learned it was similar to Human World but more advanced in technology and had everything you can find in Human World, but it has a touch of monarchy system where higher class devils rule over their lands and all the low and mid class devils in it. Time skip 1 day. After returning from their training, everyone went to their assigned rooms to rest to be in their best condition for the Youth Devils gathering, and currently all were gathered in front of Gremory Mansion except Issei, as he left with Surzex in a private train as he was a special guest and had some privileges. Soon Tannen with his fellow dragons arrived and took the Gremory peerage to the Youth Devils gathering. As Issei Hayudu with a twist. And it's a kind of filler CHP where first harem girl has appeared and I didn't exactly knew how to make her go out with him, so bear with me please. Edit. The CHPS edited, so check the new last paragraph added. Issei has arrived at the banquet where Youth Devils gathering will take place, but he have come before the awarded time as he came along with Surzex in a VIP train, but as Surzex was a Satan and this was not only Youth Devils gathering but also a chance for the three biblical faction to sign a peace treaty with Norse mythology, he had come early to make sure everything was well and there wasn't any trouble which needed his attention. Issei was currently looking at the banquet hall where the Youth Devils gathering will take place. He was quite surprised as this banquet hall alone was the size of Kuo Town or even a little more, but he entered it nonetheless and looked around as he arrived early than given time. While looking around he saw movie theater, shopping mall, swimming pools and bathroom and some other stuff. This quite puzzled him. He remembered going to many banquet halls but none had swimming pool or movie theater, and some weird places he has seen it was like they wanted to put more money in it and didn't know how to do it, so they built useless stuff like a movie theater. He sighed and left before he can see some more weird stuff, but as soon as he turned around he bumped into something, or rather someone, and the said figure fell to ground. Watch it. Issei. Oh sorry, I didn't mean that. Issei gave the figure his hand for support to get up, but the second he saw who the figure was, it was as if the time stopped around him. He looked at the figure to see a beautiful girl with silvery white hair like himself, and she had red eyes with pale skin and a voluptuous hourglass figure that can be compared to even Gabriel. The girl took his hands and got up gracefully and stared into his crystal blue eyes. Lucy Lucifuge, that's my name. Issei came back from his thoughts and looked at her and nodded. Issei Hayudu, pleasure meeting you, Lucy. She widened her eyes in shock when she heard that name, but soon she composed herself. Lucy, oh, so this is the famed White Dragon Emperor that I have heard so much. She said while looking him from top to bottom with a paroking gaze. Issei, well, what can I say, I am just that famous. Lucy, you don't look as strong as they say. How can you defeat Tannen without even using your sacred gear? Issei thinking. Oh, so the fight is already revealed to public. I wonder who did that. Somewhere else. In a room filled with erotic stuff, a man with black hair and golden bangs in them sneezed. I wonder who remembers this handsome me. Back with Issei. Issei, I can prove it to you on one condition. Lucy, and what might that be? She asked while narrowing her eyes. Say, a date with you. Lucy, and what would I get if I prove you wrong? Issei, how about having two favors from me that I cannot deny, be it even activating Juggernaut Drive? Albion mentally, sly bastard, you have killed all of the past hosts, so Juggernaut Drive is no more, but in its place is Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive, its controlled version that doesn't consume lifespan of its user. Issei mentally, she doesn't know, that does she? Lucy, I accept, then show me what you got by defeating me in a match, and don't think I am weak, as I am as strong as the strongest Youth Devil Serorg. Issei smirked. Of course. 15 minutes later. Issei was currently at Lucy, who was on the ground panting heavily while her eyes showed disbelief. Lucy, how I didn't even landed a hit on you. Issei, when you are free, come to Hayudu residence, the place where Gremory peerage and I live. After all, we do have a date. Lucy blushed and Issei left the place to the gathering area as the Youth Devils gathering was about to begin. The Youth Devils gathering and the God of Mischief. The Youth Devils gathering has just begun, and Issei was sitting besides the Satan as he was a special guest and not a part of Devil community, but much to his dismay the head of House of Lucifuge didn't came as he had some important work related to his house. Currently some devils with their peerage were entering the banquet. The host now welcomed the heir of the House of Great King of Baal. He is also known as the strongest Youth Devil. Serorg Baal. Serorg entered the banquet with a smile followed by his peerage, but what Issei's eyes was the one just behind Serorg Baal. The said figure had jet black hair, red eyes and pale skin. Issei mentally, you see that guy, I feel some strange energies from him. Albion mentally, Yes, it's as if he is something else altogether. Issei mentally. Could this be the secret weapon of Serorg as he doesn't have Regulus, you know? Albion mentally. There's a huge chance of it. Issei nodded and cut of the mental link and got up from his seat and approached Serorg. Issei, hello Serorg. Serorg, Issei Hayadu, it's good seeing you here. Issei, likewise, and are those your peerage? Serorg, yes, let me introduce them, she is my queen Kisha Abaddon, he said while pointing at a bustu woman who had blonde hair and green eyes. Kisha bowed and Issei nodded. They both are my bishops Coriana Andrealphus and Mistita Sabnok, he said while pointing at Coriana who has blonde hair and red eyes coupled with a voluptuous figure and Mistita who has a normal figure and light green hair and purple eyes. Both the bishops bowed. Then the Serorg continued to introduce his peerage and there came the introduction of the figure Issei wanted to know. Serorg, he is known as Black My Pawn who also consumed 7 of my pawn pieces. Issei nodded. Issei, you has a peerage full of pure-blooded devils who comes from extinct houses or the extra demon houses but who is black a former human. Issei asked, curiosity getting the better of him. Serorg, yes, he is a former human. Issei extended his hands to shake Black's hands who returned the handshake. Issei looked at Black and narrowed his eyes. Now that he is so close to him, he can say that Black is not someone normal. He exhibits aura similar to that of a sacred Gira Longinus to be precise. Issei, amusing to say the least, you have a great pawn. Serorg nodded with a proud smile and Issei left. Albion mentally. That guy Black is quite proficient in hiding his aura as not even the beings of superclass can sense it, but fortunately you are a dragon god class. Issei mentally. Yes, and now I can't wait for the rating game between Bale and Gremorys. Maybe then what Black is will be revealed. Issei went and sat on his seat beside Serafall and saw that the banquet was filled excluding Odin, that is. But soon a magic circle with a Norse symbol on it appears on the stage and from it came Odin and a woman with silver hair, blue eyes and a busta figure who Issei recognized as one of the main cast being Rosweiss the new 100 yen Valkyrie. Seeing the head god of Norse, the leader of the 3 factions went to greet him. Michael, it's good that you came, Lord Odin. Surzex, we were waiting for you. Both the leaders greeted him with respect, but Azazel being who he is greeted him nonchalantly. Azazel, were you at strip club? Old man, you came late, you know? Odin, if only some single Valkyrie would let me. Odin then wiped some tears that were coming out of his eyes. Rosweiss fell on her knees and started crying. Issei thinking, I have no idea how she remains single with that looks. Ajuka, is she okay? Odin, leave her, it's her regular routine to cry for a boyfriend. Rosweiss blushed as she saw everyone staring at her. She quickly got up and wiped her tears and coughed in her hands to get the unwanted attention of her. Odin looked at Issei and raised his white eyebrow. Odin, who is this young man? Surzex, he is the current White Dragon Emperor and the special guest of this youth devil's gathering. Odin, oh, the host of White Dragon. Odin then extended his hands for a handshake which Issei returned. Odin then tried to measure Issei's power, but Issei already assumed this, so he gave Odin a surprise, and soon Odin felt as if the whole world was on his being and he saw a majestic white dragon who was Albion roar loudly. Odin looked at Issei with a hint of fear in his eyes. Odin thinking, this power, it's as if the vanishing dragon has returned but more powerful. Issei then broke of the handshake, but Odin had already composed himself as he is the head of a faction and has to be used to this type situation and think calmly in these situations. Issei, hello, it seems this our first time meeting. My name is Issei Hayadu. Odin, yes Issei, you might already know me, but I am the head of the Norse pantheon Odin. Time skip 2 hours later. After Issei's meeting with Odin, everyone sat down and Surzex gave a speech of encouragement to the young devils and then asked them all what their goal was. Many devils has goals of becoming a good head to their house, to become an influential figure, to become the rating game champion and more, but the one that was interesting according to Issei was Sona's dream, which was to make a rating game school for low-class devils. But as her goal was unorthodox, the old people at top laughed at her, and her pawn Saji Genshru stood up for her by going against them, but all laughs were stopped by Serafal releasing her aura of a Satan class, indirectly giving them all warning. After that, Rias announced her dream of becoming the rating game champion, which got a round of applause from everyone. Then Serorg announced his dream of becoming a Satan, which shocked few people, as he the heir of the great king of Baal. After that, the Youth Devils rating game tournament was announced, and in this tournament the third match, which was about a month later, was between Rias and Sona and their peerage. Currently some random devils were telling their goals, but was interrupted by a loud, furious voice which came from a young man who materialized from a magic circle which had the symbol of Norse on it. The said man has light blue hair that floats behind him with 2 small shoulder-length bangs. He also has 3 blue jewels on his forehead and yellow earrings. He was wearing a robe similar to Odin, but it had different marking on it. How dare you mingle with such lowly beings, Odin? The birth of a god killer. Odin, how dare you mingle with such lowly beings? All attention was focused on the figure who spoke, while some recognized him, but many were still oblivious to he who was. Odin, go away, Loki, and I shall forget this ever happened. Odin said in a commanding voice. Loki, I see, but I am not asking for your opinion. Loki clapped his hands, and a portal appeared below the spot he was flying at, and a big wolf came out of it and roared loudly. Odin, you even bought Fenrir, I see. Loki smirked. Yes, I think it would be better to bring the Ragnarok now, and then I will take over as the ruler of Asgard and eventually the whole world. Odin was now furious, not only because Loki double-crossed him, but also the fact he declared his intention of killing Odin and taking over Asgard, and then begin his desire to conquer the world. Odin, you will regret this, boy. Loki, I don't think so. Loki then snapped his fingers, and Fenrir lunged forward at the one closest to him, which was surprisingly Akino, and Akino was shaking in fear and unable to react to the big wolf rushing towards her. Tatsuya, Akino knew. Rias, get away from her. Rias fired multiple ball of power of destruction at Fenrir, but it didn't even acknowledge its existence, as if it was a mere itch, and continued forward. But soon a condensed lightning which was flowing holy energy struck him and sent him crashing into the wall. Barakiel, don't you dare. Akino was surprised but took the moment and rushed towards Rias and the peerage. Meanwhile, all the leaders were having deep frown on their face, as this was a clear act of offense to them, and if they don't return it, their power will be questioned in the supernatural world. Rosweiss, what are you doing? Loki-sama going against Odin-sama can be considered a treason. Loki, shut up. Valkyrie, don't interfere in matters of gods. Rosweiss frowned but didn't attack Loki, fully knowing the power difference between them, as even if Loki is a moron, he is very powerful, strong enough to be at least mid-Satan class, and with Fenrir by his side he can be labeled as a big threat. Soon a green barrier surrounded Loki and Fenrir, shocking them. Ajuka, be aware of your surroundings. Loki, Beelzebub. And in an instant both Loki and Fenrir disappeared into thin air. Surzex, thanks Ajuka. Ajuka nodded. Odin, where have you teleported him? Ajuka, I have teleported him to the outskirts of Gremory territory where no life is there, and have sealed him there, but the seal can only hold him for a day. Azazel, I see, then we have to form a countermeasure immediately. All nodded. Odin, and after this I might consider joining in the peace treaty. Leaders were satisfied with the answer and smiled, as having Norse pantheon in the treaty will eventually strengthen them a lot. Time skip 23 hours later. Issei, the faction leaders had the meeting and decided the team that will counter the Loki crisis, and they were the Gremory peerage, Sitri peerage. Rosweiss and I self-volunteered, and they accepted it. I mean, why wouldn't they in times like this? One needs all the help one can get, but if I were them I would have chosen Serorg and his peerage, as they are currently stronger than Gremory and Sitri peerage combined. Well, whatever, not my problem. Currently we were outside the Gremory main house getting ready to be teleported. Ajuka, be safe and try to hold him for enough time till we can send reinforcements, as we are currently lacking it. All nodded, and Ajuka sent them off to the place Loki was sealed, and as if on cue Loki broke the barrier and came out accompanied by Fenrir, both looking furious. Loki immediately spotted us. Loki, so the Satans have sent children to deal with me, a god, and no less their own siblings? They have given me a treat. If I were to kill their siblings, I doubt they would form the peace alliance with Asgard. Haha. Rias and Sona frowned. Rias, you think you can take us all alone? Loki raised his eyebrows, and soon there were 20 dragons behind him appearing through dragon gates, and each one looked the same. Rosweiss, why you mass cloned the sleeping dragon? Loki, and that's not it. Soon 2 carbon copies of Fenrir appeared from teleportation circle, but these 2 were much smaller in size compared to Fenrir. Loki, meet Skoll and Hati, the sons of Fenrir, and just a fair warning, both possess the fangs that can kill the gods like their father. He said, cackling to himself. Issei thinking, 20 clones, huh, they are 19 more than in canon. Soon Loki ordered 20 clone dragons, Skoll and Hati to attack. Meanwhile, he just materialized a throne on a cliff and sat on it, and Fenrir was by his side. Rias, Sona, what do we do now? Sona, it's really troubling, but I think we should split up and let our pawns, Rook and Knight, deal with Skoll and Hati. Meanwhile, we with our bishops, Queen, deal with the clones, and Rosweiss can help with it. Rias, both sent their peerage to deal with Fenrir's offspring, but then both looked at Issei, making him sigh. Issei, I will deal with the 19 clones of Midgardsormr, you all deal with one. Sona and Rias frowned. Sona, you are underestimating us far too much, even if you are white drag. Issei cut her off in middle. Issei, are you implying you can take on 20 clones of a dragon king while you cannot take down the weakest cadre? Don't make me laugh. Rias looked down. Meanwhile, Sona took a deep breath and said, Sona, are you confident enough in yourself to take on 19 of those? She said, pointing at the clones of Midgardsormr. Sona, I see, then we will take the offer. Rias, Sona, you should recon. Sona cut her off in middle. Sona, he is right. If we can't even take on Kokobel, then they are far out of our league currently. Rias nodded, and then without any questions they left with their queen, bishops and queens respectively, and accompanied by Rosweiss. Issei has entered the balance breaker and took off on the 19 clones. Albion mentally, so what do you plan to do now? Issei mentally, I will play along with them, dodging their attacks and sometimes countering and taking them one by one slowly, so that Tatsuya can get Mjolnir and get the blessing of a fairy under Shikigami, the goddess of breast, as it be major for evil dragon war and Xyz's invasion. Albion mentally, that's a good plan indeed. Time skip 2 hours later, normal POV. With Gremory, Peerage, Sona and Rias alongside their queen and bishop were still struggling against one clone of Midgardsormr, as no matter how much they hit him, he gets up as if he doesn't feel the pain at all. Regarding Skoll and Hati, they too were slowly but surely getting overwhelmed, and Issei was currently fighting the last 2 clones of Midgardsormr, as he have killed all the rest of 17 clones. Loki was seeing this all in amusement, as if watching his favorite movie, but soon a magic circle appeared and from it came a hammer, and seeing it Loki frowned deeply. Loki, that bastard old man. Rosweiss put a hand to her ears, and she was in her Valkyrie battle outfit, which has an inbuilt communication device. Rosweiss, report. Random Valkyrie. Odin-sama has told that the red dragon should lift it, as he might be worthy according to him. Rosweiss nodded and severed the connection and shouted at top of her lungs. Rosweiss, Tatsuya, Odin-sama has told that you should lift Mjolnir. Tatsuya nodded and took of the sky in his balance breaker and was rushing towards the hammer. Loki, not so fast. Rosweiss, oh no you don't. Loki fired multiple magic attacks, but Rosweiss stopped them by forming a barrier with her full power, giving Tatsuya enough time to grab the Mjolnir, but much to his surprise the hammer was far too heavy and he fell down to the ground with Mjolnir and tried to lift it continuously, but Mjolnir didn't even move a little. Tatsuya, what the hell? Rosweiss, what are you doing? We don't have much time and this barrier will break any second, and I can't reform another one as this one took my whole power. Tatsuya, it's too heavy. Rosweiss, what? Rosweiss lost her concentration and the attacks broke through the barrier, almost hitting her, but she dodged them in time and soon fell to ground and was on her knees panting heavily. Tatsuya POV. Tatsuya, what should I do now? It seems you are in trouble, so I shall help you. Tatsuya looked around surprised. Tatsuya, who are you? A fairy in service to goddess of breast Lady Shikigami, who is from another world than yours, but seeing your great dedication for breast have impressed Lady Shikigami, so this is her reward. Soon Tatsuya was covered in a light, attracting everyone's attention, and when the glow died down Tatsuya didn't felt any difference. But Tatsuya, why is this hammer so light all of a sudden? Tatsuya questioned himself but lifted the hammer. Normal POV. Loki, shit. Fenrir go after the Mjolnir and after taking it from Red Dragon, guard it. Fenrir jumped from the hill and ran at high speed towards Tatsuya, and the next thing everyone knew was Fenrir tackling Tatsuya, ultimately making Mjolnir fall to the ground, and then Fenrir stood in front of it protectively and growled at Tatsuya, making him back off. Rias, what do we do now? Sona, Tatsuya can't use Mjolnir now with Fenrir guarding it. Sona, I am afraid, Rias, that the only thing that waits us now is… Rias didn't get to respond due to the sudden suffocating aura. Rias, WW, what I is this P-power? Issei, I, who is about to awaken, am the White Dragon Emperor who will take the law down to the darkness. I walk the road of domination with infinite destruction, and by piercing through the imaginary dream, I shall become a pure Emperor of White Dragon. And I shall have you obey the silvery white illusions and the perfect evil ways. Issei in a flash appeared in front of Loki, making him stumble back in fear, and next thing everyone knew was Issei's hand tearing through Loki's chest and passing through it, and on the other end of his hand was a heart in his palm, making everyone gasp. Loki looked at him with wide eyes for few seconds and barely spoke with last bits of his strength. Loki, D-damn you White Dragon Emperor. And then his head dropped down and Issei removed his hands from his chest and crushed the heart. Loki was falling to the ground, but Issei attacked his dead body with powerful dragon shot which wiped his body out of existence, and Loki was officially no more. Rosweiss, Loki is dead. She said, not believing her own words. Kiba, how is he so strong? Issei then looked at Fenrir and saw him chained up with a sword in his head, which was being held by a bespectacled young man with blonde hair with a strand of hair across his face, who was dressed in a business suit. Issei recognized him as Arthur Pendragon, the descendant of King Arthur and the wielder of Excalibur, ruler and Caliban. Soon Arthur and Fenrir was teleported away with a magic circle which had Lucifer's symbol. Issei let them go as he wasn't interested in Fenrir, and Fenrir would surely enjoy his time and freedom with Valateam, and after Loki was killed, Skoll and Hattie ran off to somewhere. Time skip a day later. It's been a day since Issei killed Loki, and after killing Loki, Issei and everyone was teleported to a meeting room where Sona reported everything that had happened. Odin, surprisingly enough, accepted the death of Loki and said the path he chose would surely end with him being dead, so it didn't matter to him who killed him because Loki brought it upon himself, but he was visibly sad. Meanwhile, everyone was shocked by the power and questioned Issei regarding it, and Issei explained that it was a controlled form of Juggernaut drive that he obtained after dealing with all the past hosts, making all to shock to even speak, as no wielder of divine dividing or boosted gear has done that before. And after that, Tatsuya informed them about the fairy incident and her mentioning about the goddess of breast Shikigami and the other world. After that, the news about the first Longinus user to ever kill a god and him being the current White Dragon Emperor spread like wildfire, and some higher-ups of the three factions and Norse were informed about the goddess of breast Shikigami from Otherworld, but the news wasn't spread, as if the existence of Otherworld was to be learned by common people, then it would surely not end well. But unbeknownst to them, the catastrophe that will change the world forever has already begun. Somewhere in Underworld, a middle-aged man in his 40s with dark silver hair and hazel eyes and a beard. He wore the same Mal Lucifer attire as Sersex, although colored in silver. He was seated on throne with a bored expression on his face. Soon a magic circle appeared, making him raise an eyebrow. From the magic circle came a man wearing all black with silvery white hair, red eyes and handsome face, and he kneeled in front of the middle-aged man. What happened? Lord Rizavim, I have gotten news from some of our spy that are high in ranking in devil community. Middle-aged man, now recognized as Rizavim, spoke again. Rizavim, what is it? Lord, we have gotten news that the current White Dragon Emperor has killed the god Loki from Asgard. Rizavim, oh, so the strongest white dragon has appeared, but is that all? No lord, the Red Dragon Emperor under some circumstances had encountered a fairy who gave him the blessing to wield Mjolnir, and she claimed to be in service of Shikigami, a goddess of breast from Otherworld, confirming the existence of Otherworld. Ryzavim laughed heartedly and after a minute stopped. Ryzavim. Yes, I knew there was something beyond this world. Just thinking about going and destroying that world excites me, and by doing that it will create a legend in that world about a devil coming from Otherworld and destroying their world and killing all their gods. Suddenly Ryzavim went quiet and spoke after some time. Ryzavim, but to face and destroy that world we need to take the strongest from our world to face all the gods there and anything they throw at us, someone strong like the dragon gods. Forgive me for interrupting you, my lord, but I don't think Ophis or Great Red would be interested in your goal, as Ophis wants silence and wars is its opposite, and from what we know about Great Red from Ophis, he would never agree as he likes to perform stunts in Dimensional Gap. Ryzavim. Lucius Lucifuge, did you think I would go for the dragon gods when there is someone stronger than them out there? The man now recognized as Lucius. Lucius. My lord, what do you mean someone stronger than dragon gods? You must be joking. Ryzavim. If the other world is real, he must exist. Lucius, go and get the location of Holy Grail and also form a faction in Cow's Brigade which will work under me. Its name shall be Clippeth. Lucius. Yes, my lord, but what shall be the goal of this faction? Ryzavim. To search and revive the Emperor Beast of Apocalypse. Trihexa, 666. The rating game Sona vs. Rias. Issei POV. It's been about a week since I killed Loki, so what happened is, well, after the ordeal with Loki we all returned to Kuo and our life was going on like any normal humans would, but Rias and her peerage did train somewhat as their rating game with Sona was near, and the fight with Loki gave them a good understanding of their lack of power and how it could affect them. For what I did well initially, I wanted to train some more, but Albion insisted, saying that I shouldn't as the upcoming days were full of death battles, so I should get as much rest as I could, so I accepted it and got the rest I could get. Yesterday I had my date with Lucy. I was surprised as I initially told her I wanted a date in Fluke. I didn't thought that she would actually come, but I agreed to it, and the date was perfect in my opinion, from going to an amusement park, then giving her a tour around the Kuo and telling about my childhood stories, which she replied by telling her childhood stories, and from what I get from it is, well, Euclid Lucifuge is a big Siscon, one who can be compared with Surzex. And Seraphal, I just hope he takes it well. You know about her and me being together well enough about that. After the tour around Kuo, I bought her some clothes and then we went to a restaurant that specializes in Italian dishes, and then it was about time she left, but not before giving me a kiss and saying that she wants to be my girlfriend, and well, who am I not to accept her? Also, I feel some sort of attraction towards her just like her. Normal POV. Issei has just teleported to his room after his date with Lucy and her becoming his official girlfriend. Currently Issei was laying on his bed, eyes closed, waiting for sleep to take over, but his thoughts wouldn't let it. Just then Albion chimed in. Albion, so now you have a girlfriend? The boy who I knew has become a man, I must say, but still congratulations. Issei, thanks Albion, and I still have to know about her, more about Lucy to really call it a relationship. You know, currently I just know her as Lucy Lucifuge, but I hope to know her as just Lucy, kind of cliche if you must ask. Albion. You have a point, but still it's good for her, and to be honest I never took you for one to be in a relationship. Issei. Neither did I, but it was a whole new experience to me, as in my previous life I was just a nerd who in high school believed that I would have a date with a woman when I have accomplished what I wanted in my life, and just like that I denied all the attempts of any girl that was interested in me, and just when I wanted to go in a relationship I died. Yup, I died and waked up as our friendly neighborhood a pay dragon. Albion chuckled at the last part. Albion, go on, I am still listening. Issei nodded and continued. Say, at first I was in denial for some time. I mean, reincarnation was a myth in my previous life. I for one never believed it, but to be reincarnated in an anime that I watched as childhood, I was quite conflicted to say the least, but I knew one thing, that this was my new reality, a new life that I have gotten in a world filled with supernatural beings and people wanting to conquer it. But the first thing I did was to train and train to gain power, as without it one is nothing, and here we are with me being a dragon god class in power. Albion, yes, we have improved to leaps and bound, but currently I would recommend you go to sleep, as tomorrow is the rating game between the Citri and Gremory peerage, and I am sure you wouldn't want to miss it. Issei grunted, and there was a comfortable silence between them, which was ended with Issei entering the dreamland. Next day, Issei woke up, got freshened up, and left to the place of raiding game as it was surprisingly at early morning, and he entered the place where raiding game would be held and entered the guest room, which was consisting of some devil nobles, and in them Issei recognized someone and sat beside her. Issei, yes, my dear girlfriend. The person now recognized as Lucy blushed a little and looked away. Then the announcer started his job and introduced both teams, and then the raiding game began, but it had some rules being. The rules of the match is that the participants are not allowed to destroy the environment, putting the Gremory group, who specializes in powerful environment-destroying attacks, at a sizable disadvantage, and the second rule is that Gasper isn't allowed to use his sacred gear or drink Tatsuya's blood. And the match went on with Rias ordering Gasper to split in his bat form and scout the whole area, Rias predicting that Sona would think that they'd send Tatsuya to the enemy base while arranging for a distraction to draw off Sona's forces. Rias instead uses Tatsuya and Kaneko as the distraction while sending Kiba and Zenovia as the main fighting force. Sona, having anticipated Rias's strategy, first lures Gasper into the mall's grocery store where he is incapacitated by garlic and defeated by Sona's forces. Secondly, Sona, having anticipated Ria's strategy, sends her main fighting force consisting of the Rook Tsubasa Yura, the Queen Tsubaki Shinra and the Knight Tomo Meguri out to meet Kiba and Zenovia in the mall, while sending the pawns Genshuru Saji and Ruruko Nimura to fight Tatsuya and Kaneko. Kaneko ends up using Senjutsu to defeat Nimura, while Tatsuya and Saji fight with Genshuru using his own life force as substitute for demonic power, showing his love and dedication for Sona. During the fight, Genshuru attaches one of the modified lines from his sacred gear, Absorption Line, to Tatsuya, which slowly drains his blood, and it does not disappear even after Saji is defeated. Zenovia meanwhile has her Ascalon, loaned to her by Tatsuya, as she was unable to completely control Durandal, thus causing unnecessary damage, incapacitated by Yura using the reverse spell to turn her weapon's holy attack into a demonic one, followed up by Tsubaki using her sacred gear Mirror Alice to multiply a attack by Ascalon and send it back to Zenovia. The injured Zenovia gives the Durandal to Kiba, who combines its aura with his holy demonic swords to create Durandal Birth and eliminate the enemy knight and rook. The two sides' forces gather in the mall's main lobby, where Sona reveals her plot to defeat Tatsuya by using a modified line of Saji's sacred gear and drain his blood to eliminate him, while Tatsuya demonstrates his new ability, Palingual, which allows him to effectively read Sona's mind and determines that the one that they are talking to is merely an illusion created by the bishops of Sona, with the real Sona being on the roof. Asia attempts to save Tatsuya using her sacred gear Twilight Healing, as he have lost far too much blood and is about to be eliminated from the raiding game, but for her troubles becomes another victim of the reverse spell, which turns her healing aura into a damaging one, eliminating her as well as a Citri bishop, Momo Hanakai. After Tatsuya is finally eliminated due to excessive blood loss as he was unable to get healed by Asia, Akino in a fit of rage due to Tatsuya getting eliminated went on and eliminates the other Citri bishop, Rhea Kusaka. Kiba confronts Tsubaki alone and eliminates her using Durandal, while Rias confronts Sona on the roof. Sona ultimately resigns from the match, seeing as her win is impossible. In the guest room, Lucy, so how would you rate the Gremory peerage? Issei, according to me, Sona used her brains very intelligently by banning Gasper's use of sacred gear and him using Tatsuya's blood, but I don't know why Gasper is afraid of garlic, as he is not even a full vampire, and now being a reincarnated devil it shouldn't affect him and he should have gotten over it already. Tatsuya fought a good battle but got eliminated due to his lack of attention to his own health. If he had that, he would have noticed his blood being drained and stopped it immediately. Zenovia need to master Durandal and her control on it, and Kiba's performance was good enough, but according to me Asia should learn some offensive magic, as her just being a healer is good, but the other members of her peerage have to constantly protect her, and if she is eliminated it could be disastrous to her team. And regarding Rias, she has improved in both tactics and power, but in tactics Sona is on another level, so we shouldn't compare. Lucy attentively listened and asked another question. Lucy, so what led to Sona's defeat according to you? Say, Sona has chosen her peerage members by putting her peerage in a certain difficult situation and a particular member as a solution for the said difficult situation, and also how she could exploit certain weaknesses of her opponents like she displayed by setting the rules of this match, but she lacks the power to really take the advantage of the weaknesses of her opponent. Like if Saji was strong enough, he might have taken down Tatsuya, who was the main person of her opposite team, which would make the Gremory peerage lose their fighting spirit considerably. But to put in one sentence, then she lost the match due to her lack of power, which she needs to overcome. Lucy nodded and they had some chats, and then Lucy left, but not before Issei tasted her juicy lips again. With the Gremory peerage, Tatsuya, man, that was one hell of a game, but at last we won. All nodded, clearly exhausted. Tatsuya, so who's our next opponent? Rias. He is Diodora Astaroth, who is also the heir of House of Astaroth, and the match would be in about 10 days. He is a tough opponent, potentially even more than Sona, so we must train hard and overcome him. Tatsuya. Yes, we would defeat them nonetheless, and hopefully bit by bit I will be as strong as Issei. Tatsuya said, clenching his fists with a determined look in his eyes. Asia. Tatsuya-san, I am sure one day you could defeat Issei-sen. Draig mentally. Yes, one day for sure, but we have much to train to get to his level, as Issei is very strong. I for one wouldn't be shocked if he has already mastered the divine dividing, considering how much that Albion takes pride in him, and by the way he fights he has no openings like a person who has fought all his life, and I could say without a doubt that he is the strongest host of Albion past, present and future. Tatsuya gulped and nodded. The day went on and night took over with our protagonist Issei visiting off to the dreamland again. Tatsuya's Juggernaut Drive. And hello everyone, I just want to tell you all that currently my board exams are starting from February 21st and will last till March 20th, so during that period there would be no updates on this story, but after my exams are over then I will fully rewrite this story and mass release the rewritten one. Till then the current version will be there. Story is not dropped. My reason for rewrite is that I find this quality lacking, so I will completely rewrite it, and the recently released CHPS were in my draft. Until then, a being about 12 feet tall covered in a primal red armor which gave it the look of a dragon, and in the red armor some green gems were attached. The said being was rampaging around destroying everything in his sight, and sometimes roars of sorrow and extreme sadness were released from it. Rias. Tatsuya, why? Now for what led to this? Flashback 3 hours ago. Rias and her peerage has just entered the field of play of their raiding game, and then suddenly Diodora Astaroth appears and reveals his allegiance with the Old Satan faction and the fact the Old Satan faction have hijacked the whole dimension, and just after his little speech he in a flash kidnapped Asia from Rias, making her peerage enraged, but Diodora left to the top shrine where his headquarters were given to him by raiding game community. But Gremory peerage wanted to rescue Asia, so they chased after him, and to stop them in their tracks Diodora has took it upon himself to host an unofficial raiding game by having his peerage get in their way. The first matchup took place in a shrine where he sent all 8 of his pawns and both rooks, while Rias sent Tatsuya, Kaneko, Gasper and Zenobia to face them. Before the fight commenced, Zenobia was given the Ascalon sword by Tatsuya. Zenobia powered up the holy aura of Durandal and Ascalon in tandem and delivered 2 powerful slashes at the rooks, killing them. The other 3 prepared to power up for their fight against Diodora's pawns, who have all promoted to queen. Kaneko let her cat ears and tail out, Gasper drank a drop of Tatsuya's blood, and Tatsuya also promoted to queen. With his perverted desires maxed, Tatsuya boosted his power to use his newest technique, Palingual. With it he was able to hear the thoughts of all their breasts and predict moves which he convoyed to his teammates. Gasper froze 6 of the pawns who were about to make an attack on him and Kaneko. The other 2 pawns were easily dealt with by Kaneko. The Gremory team moved on to the next shrine for the next matchup. There they met up with Diodora's queen and bishops. Rias and Akino stepped up to face them. While the 2 were having a slight dispute, Kaneko whispered to Tatsuya's ear a way to motivate them, to which he told Akino that if she won then they would go a date. Akino responded with lustful excitement while Rias was upset at him. The 2 girls' bickering escalated over who was closer to Tatsuya. Diodora's queen became enraged for them ignoring her and tried to get their attention, only for her to be defeated instantly by their strongest attacks. They moved on to the next shrine to face the two knights only to find to their surprise Fried Selzen to be present there instead. He reveals to had been turned into a chimera by the Chaos Brigade and have absorbed the two knights into him. Fried goes to explain that Diodora intentionally planned for Asia's excommunication, a fact that angered Tatsuya to no bound but only for Yudo to calm him down. Yudo, who is also holding back his rage, stepped forward to fight him. Fried transformed into his chimera form and charged at Yudo only to be quickly severed into pieces. Despite so, Fried's disembodied head still remained consciousness and still berated them being no match for Diodora, who is associated with Longinus users. Yudo then proceeded to stab him, thus ending his life. They finally met up with Diodora, who had Asia imprisoned in front of them. He then proceeded to ridicule and belittle them by showing her saddened expression upon learning of his schemes. He also revealed that he intended to resurrect Asia after her death by Rainier and resented Rias for stealing his chance. He then proceeded to reveal his intentions to sexually break Asia. His actions made Tatsuya's rage increase much more than it already was, and then Tatsuya entered his balance breaker and relentlessly began to beat him. Despite his power being enhanced by Ophis Snake, Diodora was completely at Tatsuya's mercy. After defeating Diodora, Tatsuya and Gremory Peerage has a joyous reunion with Asia, but all of a sudden Asia was surrounded in golden light and she disappeared into thin air, worrying the Gremory Peerage further. Then, as if on cue, a magic circle with insignia of Beelzebub appeared, and from it came Shalba Beelzebub. Diodora, ha Shalba, you came, now we will together kill. Diodora was not able to speak any further as he was disintegrated due to high-level demonic spell, and due to his weakened state he was not able to resist it and died, and the spell came from Shalba himself. Shalba, you think I would help you even after you didn't even manage to kill even one of the weaklings? Pathetic death is what you deserve. Be honored that a true Satan like me has given it to you. Rias, who are you and what have you done to Asia? Rias asked with her demonic powers flaring around her. Shalba, you must be the sister of the fake Lucifer. I am Shalba Beelzebub, a true descendant of the original Beelzebub and someone who you will kill the current Satans and regain my birthright. Tatsuya, cut the crap. Where is Asia? Shalba frowned. Shalba, shut up you lizard, but I might as well tell you. Then a wicked grin formed on his face. Shalba, dimensional gap is where she is, and soon enough her body will disintegrate into the dimensional gap, killing her. Ha ha. Tatsuya pupil shrank to the limit, and soon he started walking towards Shalba with his hairs covering his eyes, but the tears streaming down his face can be seen. Tatsuya, you took my Asia from me. She wanted to live, make friends, have a family and see what this world has to offer, but you took that away. Tatsuya started with a calm voice, then at last his voice became very draconic and his eyes glowed emerald green, and he released a very powerful aura of hate and then began speaking in a deep draconic voice. Tatsuya, I, who am about to awaken, am the heavenly dragon who has stolen the principles of domination from God. I laugh at the infinite, and I fret over the dream. I shall become the red dragon of domination, and I shall sink you to the depths of the crimson purgatory. After the chant, the whole shrine was destroyed due to Tatsuya's deadly aura. After the chant finished, Tatsuya was covered in red primal armor which gave him the look of a dragon. The armor has green gems in it, and he stood at height about 12 feet and roared at Shalba. As soon as Tatsuya entered the Juggernaut Drive, he lunged at Shalba and bite of his left hand, making him scream in pain, then kicked him in the gut, making him fall straight to the ground, and used Time's Top on Shalba, which was enabled due to the fragment consciousness of Baylor in Gasper, which switched his eyes with Tatsuya's for a moment, which gave him the power to use Time's Top. Then while Shalba was freezed in time, Tatsuya's chest plate opened and he began boosting his energy and transferring it to the chest plate. Then a beam of extreme power appears from the mouth of the helm of the scale mail that was shot at Shalba, killing him, or that's what they thought. Issei was in dimensional gap as he knew Asia would be transported here, and he wanted to rescue his new sister and then go rescue his elder brother. Soon enough Issei felt 4 new life force enter the dimensional gap, but he didn't pay mind to the other 3 and found Asia's life force and went towards her, and strangely enough the other 3 were also going for her, but soon enough Issei reached there, he saw Asia floating in the dimensional gap unconscious. He went towards her and carried her bridal style and enlarged his aura to protect her, and soon enough 3 individuals that he sensed appeared and Issei easily recognized them. Issei, oh, it's unexpected seeing you here, Valet? Blonde guy and the monkey yokai, I think your name was Biqua, right? Well, anyway, what are you lot doing here? Biqua, you got that right, white dragon. Blonde guy, the name's Arthur Pendragon, not blonde guy. Issei nodded, but of course he knew Arthur, but he has to feign ignorance to not appear suspicious. Valet, we are here to see the Dragon of Dragons, Great Red. Issei again nodded, but soon his eyes narrowed. Issei thinking, Tatsuya has entered the Juggernaut Drive. Valet, how about a rematch? I have gotten much stronger than before. Issei, perhaps next time, currently I have more important matters to deal with. With that, Issei teleported without waiting for their reply. Issei has set his location to that of Tatsuya, who was rampaging around in Juggernaut Drive. Tatsuya's Juggernaut Drive 2. Issei now entered his Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive, radiated power in all directions, attracting Tatsuya's attention, who roared seeing Issei coming close to him and lunged at it. Both Issei and Tatsuya exchanged blows at high speed, but it could be seen Tatsuya was barely holding on against Issei. Suddenly Issei appeared behind Tatsuya and punched him very hard, which buried him in the ground, forming a large crater of 40 m long, and Issei took this advantage, and as soon as Tatsuya tried to get up, he appeared in front of him and punched him in the face and used Divide. Albion, divide. 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 Tatsuya suddenly fell on his knees due to lack of power, but boosted his strength back and then appeared behind Issei to send a punch at his back, but Issei turned around and countered his punch with a punch. With the group, Surzex, I has heard about this form from others who witnessed it when he slayed Loki, but seeing it in person is quite different. Seraphal, the sheer aura of power that radiates off him is heavenly class, no wonder he outclassed Loki. Valet, Azazel, what is that form? I have heard about it from Arthur when he went to take Fenrir. Azazel, it's a controlled version of Juggernaut Drive in which the hatred of the past host is not there, and this form consumes stamina instead of life force. Biqua, how did he achieve that? Azazel, from my opinion he must have achieved it by killing all the past users of Divine Dividing, as I doubt they would comply otherwise, but still to be able to kill them is a great feat which none have accomplished till now, as among them are mightiest of warriors with crazy battle instincts. Valet, now I can't to fight him in that form. Azazel looked at Valet and sighed at his son's love for battle. Back to battle. Issei was exchanging punches with Tatsuya. Issei thinking, it's time to end this. Issei blasted a powerful concentrated dragon shot at Tatsuya and pushed him back. Issei, well, Tatsuya, it will hurt like hell, bear with it. Issei in flash appeared and punched Tatsuya on the main gem and chest plate, and the armor scattered like glass, revealing Tatsuya in his human form falling down, but was caught by Rias, and soon the Gremory Peerage group hugged him, which woke him up. Tatsuya, what happened? Tatsuya looked around and saw Asia, who has awakened in the middle of the fight between Tatsuya and Issei, and Tatsuya hugged her tightly. Tatsuya, Asia, I thought I lost you today, he said with tears in his eyes. Asia, Issei saved me, she said with a smile, all the while hugging Tatsuya. After some time Tatsuya broke the hug and saw Issei coming to the ground and dispelling his Imperio Juggernaut Overdrive. Tatsuya, thank you for saving me and Asia. Issei, but I would recommend getting yourself healed. Tatsuya nodded. Issei then turned to Asia. Issei, Drag has suffered damage due to holding back so much hatred of past hosts, so try to heal him through boosted gear, and to do it effectively use all the love you feel for Tatsuya as a source of energy. Asia blushed but nodded, and Tatsuya brought out boosted gear and Asia began her work, and after 5 minutes Drag was successfully healed, but Asia was beyond exhausted. Soon the dimension was covered with a huge shadow. Everyone looked up to see a gigantic red dragon with 4 wings passing through. Great Red, a monotone voice said. Issei looked at the source of voice and saw a breathtaking beauty with jet black hair, silver emotionless eyes, flawless pale skin, and a voluptuous body which can give Lucy a match. Her height would be about 5 feet 8 inches. Rias, Ophis as in the dragon god of infinity. Azazel, and also the leader of Chaos Brigade. Issei mentally, you see that Albion, it seems Ophis isn't a lowly. Albion mentally, go try your luck then, playboy. Issei smirked and walked towards Ophis, who looked at him with her emotionless silver eyes. Issei, so you are Ophis? I am Issei Hayadu, the current White Dragon Emperor. Ophis, strong, you are strong, join me and help me defeat Baka Red to get my home back. Issei, oh, what will I get in return? Ophis made some snakes appear in her hands which contained a part of her power. Ophis, I can give you more power. Issei, sorry, my pride as a dragon doesn't allow me to take the strength which I haven't earned myself. Ophis tilted her head to side in confusion. Ophis, then what do you want to join my organization? Issei, I will help you but not join your organization as it's currently a terrorist one and I doubt any one of them seriously wants to help you. Ophis, they promised me they will help me. Issei, promises can be broken, Ophis, and all they are doing is wanting to complete their goals by using you, and if things keep going like this they might want to get rid of you after their goals are achieved. Ophis, impossible, they can't defeat me. Issei closed in and whispered in her ears. Issei, but Samuel's poison can. Ophis's emotionless eyes widened in surprise. Issei, but I can help you genuinely to get a new home and live there instead of going to that boring place. Ophis again tilted her head. Ophis, you will. Issei nodded. Ophis, then I will live with you from now on. As Issei Hayadu with a twist. And hello everyone, I just want to tell you all that currently my board exams are starting from February 21st and will last till March 20th, so during that period there would be no updates on this story, but after my exams are over then I will fully rewrite this story and mass release the rewritten one. Till then the current version will be there. Story is not dropped. My reason for rewrite is that I find this quality lacking, so I will completely rewrite it, and the recently released CHPS were in my draft. Until then. Ophis. Then I will live with you from now on. Issei, I don't mind. Surzex. Yes, it would be good to have Ophis living with Hyudis, as that way my sister and her peerage alongside Issei would surely take care of her. Azazel, not to mention the strength of Chaos Brigade would be weakened significantly by not having Ophis's snake, and that would lead to many people abandoning it. Albion mentally, and here goes the cannon to gutter. Issei mentally, I was going to do it eventually, but I held myself back to let the news of Otherworld reach Rizavim's ear, as it was a major thing for plot, and if I stopped it then the world I knew was definitely gonna change that I didn't wanted, but from now on I can change plot. All I want is Rizavim might have already started his clipeth, so accept major changes from me now on. Albion mentally, I hear ya, but you might wanna listen to your brother as he is continuously calling for you. Issei nodded and cut off the mental link and looked at Tatsuya. Say, what is it? Tatsuya, that form, was it the controlled version of Juggernaut Drive? Issei nodded. Tatsuya, I see, and by the way thanks for helping me and Asia, if it weren't for you we might have been dead. Issei, no problem, but do train to get stronger or you will certainly lose something precious and I won't be there every time to save your ass. Tatsuya, I know. With that both ended their conversation and left shortly after to their home, accompanied by Ophis. At Hayadu residence. Rias. Okay, so Ophis, which room do you want? You can take any room which is not occupied from the third floor, as there is where everyone resides. Ophis, Issei too? Issei, yup I do. Ophis tilted her head and after some time spoke. Ophis, then I will be with Issei. Rias, are you sure, Ophis? Ophis nodded. Rias, Issei, do you agree with it? Issei, well, who am I to reject such a beautiful lady? Rias clapped her hands together and said, Rias, then it's decided from now on Ophis will live with Issei in his room. Tatsuya smiled wryly. Tatsuya, seriously bro, first the most beautiful youth devil and now the dragon god of infinity who is as beautiful as Lucy, who's next Gabriel, man, I don't want to even think about it. It seems you are gonna fulfill my dream of becoming a harem king. Tatsuya said, crying anime tears. Meanwhile Albion, who heard, started laughing his ass off, forcing Issei to cut of the mental link for time being. Ophis, harem, what is it? Issei, it's when a man has multiple female lovers, so then it's called a harem. There are even reverse harem of females having multiple male lovers. Ophis nodded and looked at Issei with a bit of blush on her cheeks. Ophis, so am I in your harem? Tatsuya, who heard this, fell on his knees, clutching his heart. Issei, it depends on how you feel about me, and if you are interested in me then I wouldn't reject you. Ophis fell into deep thought. Rias, but isn't Ophis emotionless? Issei, I doubt that, as I think she must have emotions but doesn't know how to express them due to being isolated for all her life. Zenobia, you do have a point, but still, what would Ophis do here all day? Wouldn't she get bored? Issei, I have a solution. Why not admit her into Kuo Academy, and Rias can ask Sona to put her in my class so I can take care of her, and that way she can interact with others, and then she surely wouldn't get bored. Rias, it's a good idea. I am gonna talk to Sona about it tomorrow. After that, all left for their rooms, and Issei also separated from others by going to his room. Issei looked at Ophis, who was walking behind him, and she was in uncharacteristically deep thinking. Issei, what is bothering you? Ophis, nothing. Issei, I don't think so, tell me what it is. Ophis looked at ground for some time and then back at Issei. Ophis, I do have some weird feeling when I see you, but I don't know what it is. Issei, what do you feel? Ophis, when I think about you I feel a warm feeling appearing in my heart, which is weird since I don't know about it, but when I see you talking to other girls I don't know why, but I want to kill them. Is that common? Albion mentally, a Yandra detected. Issei gulped hearing Albion say that. Say, I see. Ophis, do you know what the warm feeling is? Issei, I know, but you have to find it yourself, and to get a better understanding of it I recommend going to the library situated on second floor in house or in school, as there you can find books on emotions and stuff. Ophis nodded. Issei, okay, so how do you want to sleep? I mean, are you okay with sleeping me in the same bed? Ophis again nodded, and after that Issei went to bed alongside Ophis, who at first was at distance. Then after some time she crawled towards him and hugged him tightly and laid her head on his chest and fell asleep, although shocked Issei accepted it. Next morning, Issei fucking hired to explain what is all of this. Issei rubbed his eyes, which were still sleepy, so he can see clearly, and what he saw made him gulp in fear. In front of stood Lucy with her face red in anger. Issei, hello Lucy, what were you screaming about? Lucy, without saying anything, pointed at Ophis, who was laying beside him with her head on his chest, all the while hugging him and sleeping peaceful. Issei, oh, her, she is Ophis, the dragon god of infinity, who you can say is my new roommate. Lucy, the dragon god of infinity. What is she doing here and with you in bed nonetheless? Issei carefully explained everything that has happened without leaving any details out as not to occur her wrath. Say, and that's it. Lucy nodded in approval. Lucy, Issei, you see, I want to talk to you about something. Issei gestured her to continue. Lucy, look Issei, I am not stopping you from having multiple lovers, but at least when you find a sort of candidate for it, just inform me, okay? And I also want to be the first wife, or what you call alpha of the harem, okay? Issei, I understand where you are coming from, and I will inform you if anything like this happens again. And as for you, position as first wife, isn't it already confirmed? I mean, you are my first love, so that place automatically goes to you, and no matter how many lovers I have, there will always be a special place for you. Lucy nodded happily and then hugged him. Issei, by the way, why are you here? I mean, aren't you busy nowadays? Lucy, well, I am here to inform you that I soon will be moving in here to live with you after taking care of some matters. And Lucy seemed quite nervous, so she stopped. To say, and? Lucy, my parents and brother wants to meet you in 2 weeks from now on, and only after that I can move in here. Issei nodded, and after having some makeout sessions with Lucy she left, and Issei looked at Ophis to see her still asleep without a care in the world, with a rare smile on her face. Issei didn't want it to bother her, so he quietly removed her from the hug, and after that looked at the digital clock in his room, which displayed 6 a.m., which was 1 hour earlier than when he woke up to get ready for school. Issei, well, might as get ready now and relax after that. Issei mumbled and went inside washroom and took a long hot bath and did his daily routine and wore his Kuo Academy uniform, then came back to his room to see a still sleeping Ophis, and there were some Kuo Academy girl uniforms and school necessary items like bag and books on the couch in his room. He understood it must be from Rias. He looked at the digital clock and saw it was 6:30 a.m. Issei, well, Ophis do have to get schedule from Sona, so might as well wake her up now. Issei went towards Ophis and gently shook her. Ophis, what is it, Issei? She asked sleepily. Issei, get up, food is ready. Office in a heartbeat was up and looked around and then at Issei, tilting her head in confusion. This scene made Issei almost laugh out loud at the love the dragon god showed for food which they discovered at dinner yesterday night. Issei, get ready for school, then we can have breakfast together. Office nodded with a small pout visible on her face and then went into the washroom with her new uniform, and after some time she came back wearing the uniform. She looked quite beautiful with her long jet black reaching her waist with the unique silver eyes of her, and accompanied with her voluptuous figure. Any man would fall for her. Issei just hopes she will get some friends, as in the Kuo Academy the 5 great ladies are treated like celebrities, and the same goes for him as well. The students just treat them like they are made different, which doesn't bother him much, but he worries for Office as her looks can give all the 5 great ladies beauty combined a run for their money. So only thing he can do is hope that the girls won't feel inferior to her and leave her alone. Well, he would be there for her, but having some female friends would be good for Office. At school, currently Issei and Office were entering the Kuo Academy with Issei and Office holding their hands together. Many students who saw them started whispering, and the dead god knows what kinds of rumors must be spreading about them. Issei and Office then reached the students' council with Sona giving Office her schedule, and Sona also made sure Office was placed in same class as Issei, which was 2B, where Kiba, Zenovia, Irina, Asia are also there. Currently Issei has entered the classroom and sat on his seat, and after some time the teacher also entered the classroom alongside Office, which caused a commotion in male students mainly due to her beauty. Teacher, everyone, this is Office and she will be joining you from now on. So Office, as you have entered in mid-semester, it will be good if you sit with someone who you are comfortable with and who can help you in studies that you have missed. So do you know anyone here? Office raised her hands and pointed at Issei. Office, Issei. Teacher. Okay, so Kanzuya, get up from your seat and come sit here beside Irina. Kanzuya, hell yeah. After that Office sat down beside Issei. Time skip. Currently Issei and Office were walking towards their home. Issei thinking, it was just as I expected. Girls avoided Office because they felt inferior to her, but it all changed thanks to Irina, who lightened the mood with her cheerful nature and introduced Office to her friends, who were surprised seeing as Office wasn't arrogant. I don't know why, but whenever they see someone beautiful they all automatically thinks that the person would be arrogant, but still Irina helped greatly, and now they sort of formed a group consisting of Zenovia, Asia, Irina, Office, and 2 other girls named Akari and Ayam respectively. Issei's thinking was interrupted by Office, who suddenly pulled his hand and stopped him midway. Issei then looked around to see they were near the park where Canon Issei was murdered in cold blood by Yuma, whose real name was Rainier, and she was actually a fallen angel in disguise. Issei, huh? Office, what is it? Office. Issei, I have discussed about that warm feeling I feel with Irina, and I now know what it is. Albion mentally, and here goes down the dragon god of infinity. As Issei Hayudu with a twist. Office. I talked to Irina about the warm feeling I felt and now know what it is. Albion mentally, here goes down the dragon god of infinity. Issei, what is it? Office, it's love, and I came to know I love you. Issei looked at her for some time and nodded. Issei, then I accept your love. Office. Issei hugged Office, and eventually as the sun was setting their lips connected, making it seem like a movie scene, and after that they took their way to home, as apparently Office didn't want it to be late for her snacks, which Issei knew was an excuse as she was feeling embarrassed, but he didn't want to embarrass her more, so he left it at that. At Hayudu residence. It was 10 in the night, and currently the dinner was being cooked by Miki, Akino, Rias and Asia. All were sometimes throwing glances at the couch, which was visible from the kitchen now, for what their attention was Office reading a book about emotions with Issei's head on her lap, and one could easily say Issei was asleep. Office was sometimes lovingly stroking his hairs in middle of reading her books with a lovely smile on her face. Akino, is it just me, or are they both much closer than yesterday? Rias, no, it seems they really are getting closer. Akino, I wonder if they are dating? All looked at her in an instant, making her nervous. Akino, I mean look at that smile, it is the same as Asia's when she is with Tatsuya. Asia blushed heavily. Miki, if that is the case then I don't mind Office being my daughter-in-law. It looks like my dream of playing with my grandchildren's will not just be a dream. What they didn't know was Office heard them all due to her superior hearing, which made her boss slightly. After dinner. Everyone was having dinner in silence, but their eyes gave them out as they occasionally glanced at Office and Issei. Issei, spit it out, you all, what's in your mind? Miki, is it true, I mean you and Office? Say, yes it is. Guru, take good care of her. Issei, you don't need to say that, I will protect her with my life. Office kept her head down and only focused on food to hide her blush which was developing on her face. Then the dinner was spent in a comfortable silence. At Issei's room. Issei and Office has eaten their dinners and were currently in their room sleeping with Office tightly hugging Issei, and all the while her head was on his chest listening to his heart beat as if it is the most melodious sound as they both feel asleep. Next morning, currently everyone except Miki, Goro and Office was in the meeting room situated on the top of Hayadu Mansion. Asia, Issei, where is Office? Issei, she is asleep, and as today is a holiday I let her sleep all she wants because in 2 days school will begin again and I doubt she can sleep much then. Asia nodded in understanding. Tatsuya, why did you call for a meeting this early? Rias, as you all know, the Youth Devils Gathering is not that big a tournament and consists of less team than professional tournaments, and we have passed through all the trials of this tournament and have entered finals, and we are up against Serorg and his peerage, so we all must train hard to overcome them. Tatsuya, yes, we need to train harder to overcome them as we lack manpower. Rias, about that, I have offered someone very talented in magic a chance to enter my peerage as my other rook. If she accepts her position as rook, then not only would she be a good long-range backup but also a heavy hitter due to her rook piece. Albion mentally. Must be that Valkyrie who was accompanying Odin. What was her name again? Issei mentally. Rosweiss is her name, and I am damn sure she will join the peerage. As for Rias, to offer her to join her peerage indicates she must have been abandoned by Odin already. Issei, I still don't see my reason for being here. Rias, yes, I am getting to it. You see, I know you are very strong, so can you please train us to defeat Serorg and his peerage? Issei, Rias, although you all have potential, I am not someone who is interested in training anyone, but I will give a friendly advice, that is to ask Serzek's peerage to help in your training since they have experience and power, so go for them. Rias, I see, thanks for your suggestion. And the uneventful day went on without any significant event. 2 weeks later, before Issei knew it, the day for him to visit Lucy's family has come, and apparently Rias has recruited Rosweiss as her new rook, and just like in canon, Rosweiss became the newly appointed homeroom teacher of Issei's class. Currently there was no one except Miki and Issei in the house as Goro went to his office, and as the rating game between Rias and Serorg is tomorrow, so Rias left with her peerage to Underworld and she was accompanied by Office. But currently Issei has much more important matter on his hand, as today is the day he will meet Lucy's family, and it's one of the reason he didn't left to Underworld with Office and Gremory team. As for what Issei was wearing, well, it is his regular combat clothes of black shirt, black pants, black sneakers and black leather jacket. Suddenly a magic circle with Lucifuge symbol on it appears in his room, and Lucy emerged from it and looked at Issei for some time and nodded at him, who nodded in return, and then in an instant Lucy teleported both of them to Lucifuge Mansion. 1. Gabriel. 2. Office. Female and isn't lowly.